Chapter 1430. As a Witness 3. Brother Ping. This was their fault to begin with, and it was fine if they didn't know how to repent, but how could they get together with Bang and the others? Don't they know what kind of person Bang is? Xiao Lin said with disappointment. Sister Lin, since things have come to this, there's no point in getting angry. We can only take one step at a time. I hope they don't do anything that can't be undone. Ping said helplessly. I hope he can take care of himself. Xiao Lin sighed. Father, Mother, let's not think about these unhappy things. What will happen to Uncle's family in the future can only depend on them. We can't always help them like this. They're not kids anymore, they know what they're doing. Xian also reminded. Xian has really grown up to actually be able to say such a thing. Hearing Xian's words, Xiao Lin couldn't help but smile. Yup, Xian is much more sensible than before. Ping also laughed. Father, Mother, I've always been so sensible. I'm not going to talk to you guys. I'm going to play with my sister. Xian said, a little embarrassed. After that, she turned around and ran away. Looking at Xian's back, the two looked at each other and smiled. Xian was like a happy bird as she flew into Mingxi Garden. Sister, I'm here to see you. Xian shouted excitedly. Lung Ruoxue, who was napping on the deck chair, lifted her eyelids and looked at the happy Xian. She smiled and said, if I didn't remember wrongly, Xian seemed to have left not too long ago. Why did she come back so quickly? Sister, don't you welcome me? Hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, Xian said with an aggrieved expression, you are the family's most pampered little princess. How could I not welcome you? Lung Ruoxue chuckled as she teased. That's more like it. Sister, I'm here to tell you the good news. Xian's face was mysterious. Could it be that Miss Lan's injuries have relapsed? It can't be that fast. Lung Ruoxue guessed suspiciously. Of course not. When I listened to elder sister's words and went to tell her about this, she was so embarrassed that she hit me. My parents happened to see her, so my father asked Uncle's family to leave the family. Xian said with a proud smile. And then, Lung Ruoxue waited for her reply. Who knew that when they were leaving, one of my uncles, Bang, would invite them into his courtyard? When Xian thought of this, she became a little distressed. Although they didn't want their uncle to be with Bang, they couldn't go to Bang's yard to chase him away, so they could only let nature take its course. That Bang has a conflict with you? Lung Ruoxue said. Yes. Xian nodded. In fact, it was all her ancestors' fault. Her grandfather, who was many years older than her, had married too many women. That was why there were so many descendants, and it was so troublesome. However, she only dared to complain in her heart and did not dare to say it out loud. Don't worry, it should be fine. Lung Ruoxue consoled. I hope so. Xian sighed, her face filled with helplessness. Little girl, you've learned how to sigh at such a young age. Lung Ruoxue laughed as she scolded. Sister, I'm really worried. Although Uncle looks mighty outside, he has to listen to Aunt and Cousin when he's home. So, I'm afraid that Uncle will be affected by those two women and hurt my mother. Xian said worriedly. Don't look at how she pretended not to care in front of her mother, but in reality, she was still very worried, mainly because she was afraid that her mother would be hurt. Madamine is not as weak as you think. Don't worry. Lung Ruoxue laughed. This little girl was really too concerned. In her opinion, Xiao Lin was a successful career woman. She wouldn't be defeated so easily. I hope I'm just too nervous. Xian said, a little embarrassed. This is normal. Lung Ruoxue admired Xian's protective heart towards her mother. Just as the two of them were chatting, a few guards suddenly walked in from outside the courtyard. When they saw Xian, the guards bowed respectfully and said to Lung Ruoxue, Miss Lung, right? Grape and Lotus Seed have violated the family's rules and are now in prison. We are under orders to bring you to be a witness. What witness? The grapes and the lotus seeds are just going to take the things your head butler gave me. What kind of family rules have they broken? Lung Ruoxue sneered as she questioned him. He was really trying to frame her. No wonder Grape and Lotus Seed had not returned after such a long time. They had been locked up. Who sent you? Don't you know that elder sister can't leave Brightstream Garden? Hearing the guard's words, Yin also quickly asked. She was very sure that this order was not given by her father. Fortunately, she was here, otherwise her sister would definitely misunderstand her father. It was the elders who gave the order. The guard replied. Which elders? Yin asked. Although the major matters of the family needed to be discussed with the elders before the final decision could be made, the daily affairs of the family were basically decided by her father, and a small matter like arresting a few clansmen who had violated the family rules didn't need the elders to come forward at all. What's more, this order was given by the elders, so did it mean that they had hidden this order from her father? Thinking of this, she was even angrier. These people clearly didn't put her father in their eyes. This was preposterous. This order was given by Elder Bang and the others. The guard saw that Yin was a little angry and did not dare to hide it. Moreover, this kind of thing cannot be hidden. Bang. He was really bold. Does my father know about this? Yin said angrily. She didn't think that Bang would come looking for trouble so quickly. I don't know if the acting clan head knows. The guard quickly said. He was not willing to become cannon fodder in the battle between the direct descendants of the Yin family, so he was quite cooperative with Yin. Then do you know that Grandpa Patriarch doesn't allow elder sister to leave Brightstream Garden? Yin asked again. I don't know about that. I'm only here on orders to invite Miss Lung to be a witness. I hope Miss Yin won't make things difficult for me. The guard said with a bitter face. He didn't expect Miss Yin to be here. He was afraid that he couldn't complete his mission. If he can take me out of Brightstream Garden, I don't mind being a witness. Lung Ruashua said indifferently, her tone turning colder. Miss Lung, we're here to invite you because we're confident in our chances. Please come with us. The guard spoke and kept his head lowered, not daring to look at Lung Ruashua. If that's the case, then I'll go with you. Lung Ruashua stood up from the deck chair and was about to leave with the guards when she was pulled back by Yin. Sister, don't go with him yet. They'll go and tell father. Yin said, a little worried. Don't worry. I'm only going to be a witness. That Elder Bang won't do anything to me. Lung Ruashua said confidently. She was getting tired of waiting for Miss Lan to make her move these few days. It was a good time to go out for a walk and stretch her muscles. Besides, she wanted to show some people that Canary had a temper too. Lead the way. Lung Ruashua turned around and said to the guards, Miss Lung, please. The guards said solicitously. When they had come, Elder Bang had said that they had to be polite to this Miss Lung and not use violence. Seeing Lung Ruashua leave with the guard, Yin was stunned. After she regained her senses, she remembered that she had to quickly tell her father about this. Immediately after, she ran out of Brightstream Garden. Lung Ruashua followed the guards out of Mingxi Garden's main entrance without any hindrances. When she saw this scene, she could not help but chuckle in her heart. It seemed like Elder Bang had long prepared for this. This was even better. She did not like opponents who were too weak, and she hoped that Elder Bang would not disappoint her. The guards led Lung Ruashua to a side courtyard and left her there before turning to leave. Lung Ruashua went with the flow and found a place to sit down. Her beautiful eyes kept on sizing up the scenery in the courtyard. This courtyard couldn't be compared to the Mingxi Garden she lived in, because this was clearly an abandoned courtyard. Other than a few stone benches, there were only some trees and weeds that weren't very dense. Miss Lung is really calm. All of a sudden, a slightly teasing voice rang in Lung Ruakshu's ears. When she heard the voice, she turned around to look at the owner of the voice. The owner of the voice was a man who looked to be in his early 30s. The man was very handsome and tall, but his pair of slightly dark eyes destroyed his overall temperament. This man had some similarities with the master of the Yin family, so it was not difficult to guess the relationship between the two. If she had not guessed wrongly, this person should be the Elder Bang that the guard had mentioned. Furthermore, this Elder Bang had the strength of a god king, as expected of someone from the 8 great divine regions. Miss Lung, have you seen enough? Are you satisfied with me? When Bang saw that Lung Ruashua was only sizing him up without saying anything, he couldn't help but tease her. What a pity! His father had taken a fancy to this woman. Otherwise, he would have definitely snatched her away. However, he would not dare to touch his father's woman, even if he had 10 guts. Therefore, he could only satisfy his craving with his eyes. "Who are you?" Lung Ruoxue ignored the teasing in the other party's words and asked, even though she knew what was going on. "I'm Een Bang, one of the elders of the Een family." Een Bang introduced himself. "Oh, didn't you say that you wanted me to be a witness? This is the Een clan's prison?" Lung Ruoxue had only just heard of Een Bang's name from Xian Air's mouth when she was playing dumb. To see him in person so quickly, this member of the Een family really couldn't help but think about him. How could this be the Een clan's prison? Een Bang said helplessly, "Since this isn't a prison cell, why did those guards bring me here? You clearly told me to be a witness, but I don't know what rule Grape and Lotus Seed have broken, and you still want me to be a witness." Lung Ruoxue asked curiously. "It was my idea to invite Miss Lung here. Before we go to the prison, I have a few words to say to Miss Lung." Een Bang said with a smile, "If you have something to say, please speak." Lung Ruoxue suppressed the impatience in her heart and replied politely. Even though she did not know what Een Bang was up to, she was certain that it was not something good. Otherwise, why would he have sneakily asked someone to bring her to such a remote courtyard? This fellow clearly had no good intentions. She was on high alert. Chapter 1431. You're sitting in my seat. 1. It's like this. Grape and Lotus Seed stole the things that the clan had given to young Lady Lung and were caught by us. However, those 2 maidservants stubbornly said that you gave them. Therefore, I specially sent someone to invite young Lady Lung to be a witness. I know that young Lady Lung is kind-hearted. Although they have been serving you these days, I don't hope that young Lady Lung will shield them. Otherwise, I can't explain it to the clan. If everyone in the clan follows suit in the future, wouldn't the Een clan be in chaos? Een Bang said, his heart aching. What do they steal? Lung Ruoxue had a puzzled look on her face. Based on her understanding of the 2 maidservants, they shouldn't be such people. Besides, even if they really liked something, they didn't have to steal it. Basically, the things that they took from the head butler, the things that they didn't need, were all given to them. When the time comes, Miss Lung will know. The reason why I told Miss Lung these things in private was that I hoped that Miss Lung would not cover up for them out of goodwill. If that were the case, I would not be able to answer to my clansmen. Een Bang reminded with a smile. Don't worry. If they really did take something I don't know, I won't cover for them. Lung Ruoxue promised. She finally understood what Elder Een was trying to say. He was telling her not to cover up for them. However, this fellow was not willing to reveal what they had taken. Wasn't this too strange? Since Miss Lung has said so, I am relieved. Een Bang said, since Elder Een is at ease, can you take me to see my 2 maidservants now? Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. Of course. This way, please, Miss Lung. Een Bang invited him in a gentlemanly manner, and the 2 of them walked towards the prison cell. When they arrived at the prison cell, Lung Ruoxue did not even look at Een Bang and walked straight in. The Een family's prison cell was located to the north of the Een family's main residence. The prison cell could be considered clean, but there was still a faint smell. There weren't many people locked up in the cell at the moment. Lung Ruoxue didn't ask Een Bang where Grape and Lotus Seed were locked up. She searched from the beginning. After searching through a few cells, she only found traces of Grape and Lotus Seed when she reached the 10th cell. Grapes and Lotus Seeds. Lung Ruoxue looked at the 2 men who were tied to the wooden pole and covered in wounds. The anger in her heart was instantly ignited. Damn it, who was the one who hit them? Before things were clear, they had been beaten to such a state. At this time, Lotus Seed had already fainted, and Grape only had a trace of consciousness left. The clothes on the 2 of them had long been torn and tattered, and the skin on their bodies was not in good condition. After hearing Lung Ruoxue's voice, Grape endured the pain and opened his eyes that were swollen like peaches. He called out weakly, Miss, what are you doing here? Quickly leave this place. This is a trap. After that, Grape also fainted. When Lung Ruoxue heard Grape's words, she turned around and looked at Een Bang, who had already walked to her side. She said with a half-smile, Elder Bang, why did you beat up the 2 maidservants who served me? What crime did they commit to deserve such a heavy punishment? Men, who did this? When Bang heard Lung Ruoxu's question, he hurriedly called for the guards and asked. To be honest, he didn't order anyone to beat up the two maidservants. Therefore, after seeing their injuries, he was extremely puzzled. He didn't want to be misunderstood by this beauty in front of him, so he naturally had to clarify everything. It should be Miss Lan, the guard said with a little fear. The two maidservants had suffered such heavy injuries, and as guards, they had failed in their duties. Therefore, they were very afraid that they would be punished, so they naturally did not hide the truth for Xiao Lan. Miss Lan? Could it be that young Lady Lan's authority in the Yin clan is so great that she can enter and leave any place she wants, and can beat the Yin clan's maidservants as she wishes? Lung Ruoxue sneered. This was clearly incited by someone. At this time, that person still dared to play dumb in front of her. Did he really think she was a 3-year-old child? Lung Ruoxu's sharp questioning made Bang break out in a cold sweat. He knew that Xiao Lan had used his name to enter the room. However, he had warned Xiao Lan not to act rashly before he had convicted the two maidservants. He did not expect that Xiao Lan's desire for revenge was so strong that she had ignored his warning and sneaked into the prison. She had even beaten them up so badly. Now, he had no way of explaining it to the elders. This was big trouble. At this time, he really hated Xiao Lan, that woman who failed at her work and was good at causing trouble. She was really a big-breasted but brainless person. Elder Bang, do you have nothing to say? Although I'm not from the Yin clan, these two maidservants were arranged for me by your clan head, so they're my people. Now that you've seriously injured my maidservants without even knowing the reason, you must give me an explanation for this matter, or rather, are you trying to force a confession out of me? Lung Ruoxue continued to ask. Miss Lung, I really don't know why Xiao Lan would come here. Bang explained guiltily. Now that everyone in the Yin family knew that Xiao Lan was staying with him, his words were not very convincing, especially under Lung Ruoxu's burning gaze. His heart felt weak. This woman seemed to be even more beautiful and soul-stirring when she was angry. You don't know. I've heard that Elder Bang has brought Xiao Lan's family to his own home, and now you're telling me you don't know? Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but laugh. Her beautiful face was filled with mockery. I also saw that they were quite pitiful after being chased out by the acting clan head, so I kindly took them in temporarily. I really didn't expect Xiao Lan to come to the prison and beat up these two maidservants. Bang racked his brain for an excuse, so anxious that his forehead was covered in sweat. Elder Bang is really kind-hearted. I wonder if there are any homeless people in the Divine Realm. Why don't you bring them all to live with you, Elder Bang? Lung Ruoxue suggested with a smile. How can this be the same? Bang said, wiping the cold sweat from his forehead. What's different? Xiao Lan's family didn't seem to need Elder Bang's help, right? If Elder Bang is so enthusiastic about helping them, then we should do even more for the other homeless people. Lung Ruoxue said with a light smile. Chapter 1432. You're sitting in my seat too. Xiao Lan's family's in-laws after all, and those homeless people have nothing to do with me. Bang explained helplessly. In-law? They don't seem to be your in-laws. Since it has nothing to do with you, yet you're still so enthusiastic, you must be a kind-hearted person. In that case, help more homeless people. Lung Ruoxue suggested. Miss Lung, Bang was about to explain, but before he could, he was interrupted by a furious roar. Bang, were you the one who ordered the arrest? Ping's tall figure appeared at the door of the cell. After seeing Ping, he immediately shouted. When Lung Ruoxue and Bang heard the roar, they looked in the direction of the sound at the same time. Bang's face darkened, while Lung Ruoxu's face was filled with curiosity. Sister, this guy didn't do anything to you, right? At this moment, Xian, who was behind Ping, ran to Lung Ruoxu's side and held her hand to check it up and down, as if she was afraid that Bang would hurt her. Lung Ruoxue could not help but laugh when she saw this. It was already good enough that she did not bully others. That would give others the chance to bully her. Shwea, Are you all right? Shaolin also walked over and asked with concern. Madam Yin, Xianer, I'm fine. Elder Bang was quite polite to me. Lung Ruoxu's tone was gentle, unlike how she had been aggressive towards Yin Bang. That's good. Shaolin and Yin Xian nodded in relief. Then they turned to glare at Yin Bang and said fiercely, Elder Bang, what are you trying to do? Mistress, it's not that I want to do anything, but these two maidservants have violated the clan rules, so I had no choice but to order people to lock them up. I invited Miss Lung here only to let her be a witness. Why are you so nervous? Yin Bang said with a smile. Why didn't I, the acting head of the family, know that they broke the family rules? Yin Ping walked over and asked coldly. This matter was decided at the last minute after a discussion between several elders. If the acting patriarch has any questions, you can ask the other elders. I'm just an executor. Yin Bang said, pushing the matter away. Why don't the elders need to go through me, the acting master, for their decision? Are you guys not putting me in your eyes? Yin Ping half squinted his eyes and said with slight displeasure. Acting patriarch, this is only a small matter. Why are you so calculative? Yin Bang said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. I can see from this small matter that you don't care about the acting family head at all. Lung Ruoxue smiled faintly. Miss Lung, of course we can't take the acting family head seriously. We do take him seriously. Yin Bang said, holding back his anger. He was furious that Lung Ruoxue had added fuel to the fire. However, he had no choice but to hold it in because Lung Ruoxue was the master subordinate. Oh really? How come I didn't feel it? Clan head Yin Dai, Grape and Lotus Seed are now considered my people. But Elder Bang locked them up in prison without any explanation and even had people beat them until they were on the verge of death. Shouldn't your Yin clan give me an explanation for this? Lung Ruoxue turned her gaze towards Yin Ping. These two maidservants are from our Yin clan. How could they be your people? When Yin Bang heard Lung Ruoxu's words, he quickly reminded her. Didn't I tell you that they were sent to me by your master? Of course they're my people. However, when you arrested them, you didn't ask for my permission. You even ordered them to be tortured and forced to confess. You have to give me an explanation for this. Otherwise, they'll have to go to your master to judge. Lung Ruoxue threatened calmly. I didn't ask anyone to hit them. Yin Bang quibbled. You didn't order anyone to beat them. So how dare the guards let Shaolan in? Shaolan now has you backing her up. So I don't think those guards would dare to offend you. Lung Ruoxue asked with a look of understanding. Shaolan hit them. Yin Ping's eyes followed the prison door and looked in. Sure enough, he saw two unconscious servant girls, their bodies covered in wounds. Not one was intact. Suddenly, the anger in his heart surged up. Yes, I am. Lung Ruoxue nodded. How did Cousin Lan get into the prison? Yin Xian asked in a cold voice. These days, she often went to Mingxi Garden, so she got along quite well with Grape and Lotus Seed. Now, seeing them on the verge of death, she was a little angry. According to reason, unless there was an elder or her father's order, even the clansmen could not easily enter the prison of the Yin family. However, looking at the current situation, not only did Shaolan enter, but she also almost beat them to death. We'll have to ask Elder Bang about this. Lung Ruoxue laughed coldly. This is none of my business. Hurry up and explain to the acting patriarch clearly. How did Shaolan get in? Don't you know the rules of the Yin clan? How can you let Shaolan in? After hearing the conversation between Yin Xian and Lung Ruoxue, Yin Bang shouted angrily at the guard. Elder Bang, Miss Xiao has your token in her hand. She said that you asked her to interrogate the two maidservants, so I let her in. The guard quickly told the truth. So that's how it is. Now, Elder Bang had nothing to say. I only found out today that the members of the Yin clan who committed a crime could be interrogated by outsiders. I really learned a lot. Lung Ruoxue smiled faintly, her beautiful face full of admiration. How could I give Shaolan any token, let alone let her interrogate the people of our Yin clan? Do you have any brains? Yin Bang berated the guard. Then he smiled at Lung Ruoxue and the rest. She must have stolen my token and come to the prison to take revenge. This has nothing to do with me. You must believe me. Does it matter if we believe it or not? Elder Bang, Xiao Lan is one of your people, and now she has used your token to injure my maidservant. You must give me an explanation for this, or else I won't let this go. Lung Ruoxu's beautiful face darkened. I've already said that this matter has nothing to do with me. Furthermore, Xiao Lan is not one of my people. She's the niece of the acting clan head. Yin Bang said, Elder Bang, are you even a man? As everyone knows, Xiao Lan is currently living at your place. If she's not yours, then who is? As a man and an elder of the Yin family, if he didn't take responsibility, how would he convince the public in the future? The many clansmen of the Yin clan will be disappointed in you. Lung Ruoxue smiled as she reminded him. Chapter 1433. You're sitting in my seat 3. Sister is right. My father had already asked my cousin's family to leave the Yin family, but you brought them back. Now that something has happened, you want to push it all away? No way. Yin Xian said angrily. Elder Bang, since you've invited me here to be a witness, I want to know what mistake they've committed. What did you steal from me again? Lung Ruoxue continued to ask. The two of them are not clean. They secretly hid the spirit mist fruit that the head butler gave to Miss Lung. Yin Bang said, feigning calmness. Spirit mist fruit? The spirit mist fruits in their hands are given to them by me. However, they have never been willing to eat them. I can't even reward the maidservant with something that was given to me. Lung Ruoxue asked coldly. Miss Lung, do you know how expensive the spirit mist fruit is? How could he give it to 2 maidservants? I know you are kind and want to protect them, but this matter can't be settled just by admitting it. Yin Bang reminded. Right now, he was already a little angry with Lung Ruoxue. Lung Ruoxue had clearly promised that she wouldn't shield them, but now she was still standing on the side of the 2 maidservants. This made him feel a little embarrassed and angry. I already said that I gave it to them, and this is not allowed? It seems that Elder Bang wants to kill those 2 maidservants. I really don't know what kind of deep hatred Elder Bang has with Grape and Lotus Seed. They are just 2 maidservants of the Yin clan. They shouldn't be able to offend you. Of course, if you want to stand up for Miss Xiao Lan, then it's another matter. However, the one who bit Xiao Lan was my beastie, so if you want her to take revenge, she should come at me instead. What kind of skill is it to use your own maidservant as cannon fodder? Lung Ruoxu's face was full of disdain, and her beautiful eyes that were spitting fire made Yin Bang's heart beat wildly. Miss Lung, you've misunderstood me. Xiao Lan isn't anyone to me, so why would I stand up for her? When Yin Bang heard Lung Ruoxu's words, he looked at Yin Ping nervously before explaining. Clan head Yin Dai, what do you say about this? Lung Ruoxue ignored the irresponsible Yin Bang and turned to Yin Ping. They'll call for a meeting of the elders, and we'll make a fair decision. Yin Ping suppressed the anger in his heart. Yes. However, this matter involves me and my 2 maidservants, so I request to participate in your elders' meeting. Lung Ruoxue said, after some thought, you're not a member of the Yin family, so how can you participate in our Yin family's elder meeting? Yin Bang said disapprovingly. Even Xiao Lan can enter and exit the Yin family's prison cell as she pleases. Why can't I participate in the Yin family's elder meeting? Lung Ruoxue asked with a smile. I've said it before, my token was stolen. I didn't let her in. Yin Bang's forehead was covered in cold sweat as he explained. He was quite annoyed that Lung Ruoxue would not let go of this point. Elder Bang has a mouth, so he can say whatever he wants. Besides, you said that your token was stolen, but do you have any evidence? Have you reported it? Or perhaps the theft of the token is not a big deal in your Yin clan, and there is no need to report it? Lung Ruoxue chuckled as she retorted. The elder's token has been lost. We must report it. Yin Ping, who had been listening to their conversation, suddenly said, I heard from a guard that Xiao Lan took my token and entered the cell. That's when I found out that the token was lost, and I didn't have time to report it. Yin Bang quickly said. When Lung Ruoxue heard Yin Bang's words, she didn't say anything. She only looked at Yin Bang with a smile that wasn't a smile. Her gaze made Yin Bang's hair stand on end because her gaze was too sharp. Substitute clan head, I request to attend your elders' meeting. Lung Ruoxue said to Ping. All right, he said. Ping nodded his head as he sized up Lung Ruoxue. This was probably the first time he had seen a woman that his wife and daughter had praised so much. It was just as they had said, she was a rather impressive woman. Not only did she have a beautiful face, but she was also so eloquent that it made one feel fear. However, when he saw Bang being dumbfounded by her questioning, he was extremely happy. Acting clan head, how could this be? She's an outsider. Seeing that Ping had agreed, Bang quickly reminded him. Lung Ruoxue was too powerful. He didn't dare to imagine how she would force the elders to attend the elders' meeting. Xiaolan is also an outsider. She'll also be attending this meeting. Ping said indifferently. Why did you let Xiaolan participate? She doesn't have the qualifications. When Bang heard that Xiaolan was going to participate, he immediately became anxious. Elder Bang, don't be anxious. Didn't your token get stolen? Let's question him face to face and see what's going on, in case someone confesses under torture again. Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. Then she said to Ping, substitute family head please release these two maidservants first. I can prove that they did not steal anything. If the things that Elder Bang said they stole were the spirit fog fruits, then those fruits were given to them by me. All right. Ping nodded his head and immediately motioned for the guards to carry the two maidservants who were covered in injuries out of the cell. Seeing this, Xian took out 2 healing elixirs and wanted to feed them to the grape and lotus seeds. However, she was stopped by Lung Ruoxue. Xianer, don't treat their injuries first. These injuries are all evidence. I just want to let the family see how serious the crime they have committed is to be beaten up like this. Yes. Xian nodded her head and kept the pill. She knew that her sister was really angry. After ordering the guards to use a single rack to carry the grapes and lotus seeds, Lung Ruoxue and her group left the cell and walked towards the family's meeting hall. On the way, Bang tried to find an excuse to leave several times, but Lung Ruoxue kept a tight watch on him. He could not leave even if he wanted to, and could only worry in his heart. Seeing how anxious Bang was, Xian and Xiaolin couldn't help but laugh in their hearts. He deserved it. Who asked him to come up with such a thing? Of all people to provoke, he had to provoke Lung Ruoxue. One must know that from the first time they saw Lung Ruoxue, they knew that this lazy-looking woman who seemed to be indifferent to everything was not someone to be trifled with. After everyone walked to the meeting hall, Ping ordered his subordinates to invite the elders in the main residence to come for a meeting. Of course, he did not forget to send someone to bring Xiaolan. In the meeting hall, Lung Ruoxue casually found a chair and sat down, waiting for the elders to arrive. The seat she was sitting on was the second seat to Ping's left. According to the family's ranking arrangement, that should be the seat of the elder who was ranked 3rd in the Elder Council. However, now that she had sat there, the elder who was sitting there naturally had to change his seat. Initially, Ping wanted to remind Lung Ruoxue when he saw her sitting there. However, he remembered that the 3rd elder and Bang had always been in the same boat, so he didn't bother to say anything. Besides, he also wanted to see what kind of ability this mid-level deity woman had to make his father bring her back. Since he didn't raise any objections to Lung Ruoxue's position, Xiaolin and Xian naturally wouldn't say anything. However, just because they didn't say anything, it didn't mean that others wouldn't. When Bang saw Lung Ruoxue sitting in the 3rd elder's seat, he reminded her, Miss Lung, there's someone sitting there. Oh, really? I've taken a fancy to this seat. Get him to sit somewhere else. Lung Ruoxue said in an overbearing manner. When Bang heard Lung Ruoxue's words, he could not catch his breath and almost passed out. Where did this woman come from? It was fine if she didn't put him, a god king, in her eyes, but who asked her to be his father's woman? However, even 3rd elder did not take her seriously. Wasn't Lung Ruoxue a little too bold? One had to know that 3rd elder's seniority in the clan was much higher than the acting family head, Ping. This woman was simply too arrogant. However, her domineering aura was really pleasing to the eye no matter how he looked at it. It was as if she was born like this. This was really too strange. Who's so bold as to ask me to change seats? All of a sudden, a loud roar was heard outside the meeting hall. Then, the door of the meeting hall was pushed open and dozens of elders walked in. Most of these elders were men, and the words just now were spoken by a man who was surrounded by them. This man looked to be in his 40s. Compared to the other members of the Een clan, he was not considered very handsome. However, his aura and strength were not low. According to Qing Ju's voice transmission to Lung Ruoxue, this man had the strength of a divine emperor. His strength was definitely one of the best among the elders. Furthermore, he had deliberately added his own pressure to his words. It was clear that he wanted to use this to frighten Lung Ruoxue. However, what surprised him was that the woman sitting in his seat seemed to not feel his pressure and still sat in the chair, which made him a little embarrassed. Moreover, he was very sure that he had added pressure in his words. Looking at Yin Xian's pale face, he knew that if it was not for Yin Ping protecting her, Yin Xian would definitely have suffered internal injuries. Third Elder, you've really gone too far. Lung Ruoxue didn't have much of a reaction. Instead, Yin Ping was the first to get angry because his daughter's cultivation wasn't high. If it wasn't for him by her side, how could she have withstood the divine sovereign's pressure? Acting patriarch, can't you tell if it's me or someone else who's going too far? Since when did our Een family let a woman ride on our heads? And she's a woman who came out of nowhere. The third elder glared at Yin Ping with a venomous, snake-like gaze. As a deity emperor, his divine consciousness was naturally incomparably powerful. If he had the intention to observe, everything that happened in the Een family would not be hidden from him. Therefore, everything that happened in the prison was within his grasp, including the meeting hall. Thus, before he even walked in, he added his own pressure into his voice and anger, so as to give Lung Ruoxue, Yin Ping, and the others a chance to back down. However, he still miscalculated. Third Elder, no matter what dissatisfaction you have, you shouldn't have added pressure into your voice. If she and Xian were to be harmed in any way, the family head will not let you off. Yin Ping knew that he wasn't Third Elder's match, so he could only bring up his own father. Then the family head can't just watch me, the Third Elder, be bullied by an outsider. The Third Elder said coldly, "Is this the Third Elder? I wonder how I've bullied you?" Lung Ruoxue asked with a pure and innocent look. "You're sitting in my seat," the Third Elder warned. Chapter 1434. Hostage Exchange 1. This is considered bullying you? Lung Ruoxue laughed. In her entire life, this was the first time she realized that sitting in someone else's seat was considered bullying, even though she was sitting there on purpose. Our Een clan is a clan that places great importance on rules and etiquette. You, a junior, actually dare to be so arrogant in front of an expert. This is really preposterous. The Third Elder growled as he suppressed his anger. If this woman wasn't related to the patriarch, he would have. What the Een clan values has nothing to do with me. Although I'm much younger than you, it has nothing to do with you even if I'm a junior. So, don't call yourself an expert in front of me. You're only a divine emperor, not an expert. If you want to be an expert, wait until you become a reverend god or a divine master. Lung Ruoxue said with a look of disdain. The moment her words left her mouth, it immediately caused a series of gasps. No one from the Een clan, including Yin Ping's family, had thought that Lung Ruoxue would be so arrogant. Even though the Een clan did not dare to claim that the Third Elder could control the sky with one hand, he could almost call the wind and summon the rain. However, in the eyes of this woman, he was actually worthless. Not to mention the Emperor God, anyone else would be furious if they were in her place. As expected, the moment Lung Ruoxue finished her sentence, the red-faced Third Elder roared in anger. What an ignorant junior! Today, he'll let you witness this elder's strength. With that, the Third Elder raised his hand. A trace of divine power gathered in his palm, and he was about to attack Lung Ruoxue when a red light flashed. He felt a numbing sensation in his hand, and his arm drooped down. It was only then that the crowd could see clearly that the red light that had flashed past Lung Ruoxue's wrist was a fiery red, crystal-clear snake. It turned out that the Third Elder had been bitten by the snake. In an instant, everyone could only watch as the third elder's arm turned black. This was clearly a sign of poisoning. Seeing this, the third elder hurriedly used his divine power to force the poison out of his arm through the wound. By the time the poison had subsided and his arm had slowly returned to its original color, he was already drenched in sweat and panting. The third elder, who had forced out the poison, was extremely shocked. He kept cursing in his heart. What kind of venomous snake was this? The poison was actually so powerful. Even though he had managed to force the poison out, his arm was still numb and he could not feel anything. However, because of his fear of the little snake, he did not dare to attack Lung Ruoxue rashly. However, Lung Ruoxue's next words almost angered him to death. "Little fire, are your teeth hurting? That person's skin is rough and thick, so it's not easy to bite him." Lung Ruoxue gently stroked Fiery's soft scales as she asked with a smile. My teeth almost fell off. The Divine Emperor's skin is indeed thick enough, and his meat is not delicious." Little Fire nodded its little head and said in an extremely serious manner, "Hee. In that case, try to bite less Divine Emperors in the future. I think it should be easier to bite Divine Kings." Lung Ruoxue's beautiful eyes glanced at Bang as she spoke. When Bang heard her words and felt her gaze, he subconsciously lowered his head to hide his presence. His heart was constantly muttering, "Fuck, this woman was beautiful, but why was her heart so vicious?" He actually wanted that snake to bite him. That was really too evil. "Women, the strength of a divine king is too low, so I can't satisfy myself by biting him. Although the skin of a divine emperor is a bit thick, it's still a challenge for me. So, I'll bite the divine emperor." Fiery thought for a moment and said, Then bite the emperor god. There seems to be quite a few deity emperors in the Yin clan that are enough for you to bite. However, Little Fire, we can bite people, but we have to run immediately after biting them. Otherwise, if they catch you, they'll definitely make you into soup." Lung Ruoxue reminded him with an evil smile. When the crowd heard the conversation between the man and the beast, they were so angry that they almost vomited blood. There were many deity emperors among the crowd, and Lung Ruoxue had clearly incited her beast to bite them. Furthermore, it was the kind of beast that would run away after biting them. With the little red snake's speed, even if they were deity emperors, it would not be easy for them to catch it. Otherwise, Third Elder would not have been bitten. Although they were all divine emperors, there were differences in their strength. The Third Elder might not be the strongest among the divine emperors, but he was definitely one of the best. If even he could not do anything to the little red snake, then wouldn't they all be waiting to be bitten? At the thought of this, all the immortal Emperor Elders became depressed. They couldn't help but glance at the Third Elder, hoping that he could stand up for them. After all, among all the elders, the First Elder was always in closed-door cultivation, and the Second Elder was also in closed-door cultivation. The Third Elder was the most powerful and most powerful one. Therefore, they could only pin their hopes on him. Third Elder, who was alone in his depression, felt the eager gazes of the other elders, but he didn't want to get involved at this time, so he could only choose to ignore them. When Ping heard Lung Ruoxue's words and saw the expressions of the elders, he felt a heartfelt admiration for Lung Ruoxue. However, due to his status, he didn't dare to show it. He could only sigh in his heart. This woman was indeed brought back by Father. Truly too formidable. Not only was he able to maintain a straight face in front of the Third Elder, who had the strength of a peak-grade deity emperor, he even agreed for his own beastie to bite the other elders. Woo. If it was someone else, they definitely wouldn't have the guts to do this. After all, this was the Yin residence. Although Yin Ping did not dare to show his admiration for Lung Ruoxue, Yin Xian did not have such concerns. Her eyes were fixed on Lung Ruoxue and Xiaohua, not even blinking. If it was not for Shaolin who gently pushed her, she would have rushed to Lung Ruoxue and Xiaohua and exclaimed, "Idol!" However, it was better to keep a low profile in such a tense moment. Even though Lung Ruoxue was talking to Xiaohua, she did not miss the expressions of any of the Yin clan's members. She glanced at the silent Third Elder of the Yin clan and smiled faintly. "Third Elder, Can you give this position to me? Weren't there two better seats in front? You can sit there, she suggested kindly. Chapter 1435. The Confrontation, 2 Ugh. When the elders heard Lung Ruokshu's suggestion, a few drops of cold sweat dripped down their foreheads. They thought to themselves, this woman is really too evil. Can she just sit on those two seats? If third elder really sat down, it wouldn't take long for news to spread that third elder had the intention to replace first elder and second elder. If this reached the ears of those two, third elder's good days would probably come to an end. She was clearly bullying third elder. I really don't know how third elder provoked her, sigh. No wonder people often say that only women and villains are difficult to raise. It seemed that he could offend anyone but a woman. All the elders were sighing in their hearts. When third elder heard Lung Ruokshu's suggestion, he could not catch his breath and almost passed out. Third elder coughed nonstop, and his face had turned dark red. Seeing this, Lung Ruokshu quickly instructed Bang, Elder Bang, the third elder doesn't seem to be in a good condition right now. You should quickly go and help him. This is a great opportunity for you to perform. Don't miss it. Lung Ruokshu's words made Bang roll his eyes. He thought to himself, with your words, I can't help even if I wanted to. Otherwise, others would think that he was taking the opportunity to show off. Such rumors were not good for his reputation. Seeing that Bang did not move, Lung Ruokshu's beautiful eyes gently swept towards the other elders. When the elders received her gaze, they actually all turned their heads away in unison. It was obvious that no one had any intention of doing anything good at this time. Seeing this, she smiled faintly and said, It seems that the third elder is not very popular. You're in so much pain right now, but no one is willing to help you. AI, poor thing. Lung Ruokshu's sarcastic words caused third elder to cough even harder. In order to prevent third elder from losing his temper, Ping hurriedly gave a look to the guards beside him. The guards understood and helped third elder, who was coughing badly, to find a seat and sit down. All the elders, please sit down, Ping said indifferently. The third elder's seat had been taken by Lung Ruokshu, and third elder had taken another elder's seat. Hence, the elder who had taken the seat could only swallow his anger and stand to the side. Who asked him to not offend either the third elder or Lung Ruokshu? Third elder's strength and status were both above his, so he naturally didn't dare to offend him. As for Lung Ruokshu, even if she didn't have the family head support, she could still rely on that little snake that could even bite third elder to the point where he couldn't even fight back. This was enough to make his heart tremble with fear. Who would dare to provoke this tigress? After the elders sat down, Ping slowly opened his mouth again. I've gathered all the elders today, mainly because I have a few things to discuss with all of you. As for how to deal with it, we'll still follow the old rules. The minority is subordinate to the majority. Acting patriarch, what is it? An anxious elder couldn't help but ask. First of all, Elder Bang said that he lost his token. I've only just found out about this. He didn't report it to the clan immediately after he lost his token. How do you think we should handle this, elders? After a pause, Ping continued. Master, I only just found out that I lost my token. I told you immediately after I found out. How can you say that I didn't report it? Hearing Ping's words, Bang quickly defended. Elder Bang, you even lost your personal token. You're too careless. I wonder where you lost it. Lung Ruokshu's voice rang indifferently in Elder Bang's ears. What does this have to do with you? This is our clan's internal affairs. Don't interrupt. Bang roared in anger. I'm just raising my own doubts. Since I'm able to attend your elder council today, it means that I have the right to speak, right? The head of the clan. Lung Ruokshu smiled as she asked Ping Dao, who was sitting on the main seat. This Ping wasn't stupid. He knew that if he took Bang's token first, he would not be able to explain himself. And Ping nodded and then said to Bang, Elder Bang, please answer Miss Lung's question truthfully. I also want to know where you lost the token, and how did you lose it? Acting clan head, my token can't be considered lost. It should have been stolen by someone when I was unprepared. Bang thought for a moment. his heart filled with hatred towards Yin Ping and Lung Ruoxue. These two were obviously trying to get him to reveal the whereabouts of the token. How despicable. Now, he was very clear that no matter what he said, he would be found by these two and further lure him into the trap. Who stole it? Yin Ping asked despite knowing the answer. Shouldn't the acting family head be very clear about who stole it? Yin Bang said with a smile. Elder Bang, we don't care if you lost or stole your token, or if you gave it away. I just want to know who could have stolen the Divine King's personal token. If it was lost, what else did you lose, Elder Bang? Did you lose your storage ring? Before Yin Ping could speak, Lung Ruoxue rushed to question him. The moment Lung Ruoxue's words left her mouth, all the elders present started to secretly discuss in hushed voices. Yup, this matter is strange. You think it's abnormal too? It's more than abnormal. The tokens are all kept in the storage ring. Can't you see that Elder Bang is still wearing that storage ring? How could he have lost the token? He probably lent it to someone else. The elders whispered to each other, and no matter how soft their voices were, they couldn't escape the ears of the people present. When Yin Bang heard the suspicions of the elders, his face turned red and white in anger, and he panted heavily. Elders, please calm down. Today, something strange happened in your Yin family's prison. Lung Ruoxue smiled as she spoke. What is it? An elder asked cooperatively. Xiaolan, who has been invited out of the Yin clan by your acting patriarch, actually entered the cell with Elder Bang's personal token and tortured the two maidservants who served me. According to the guard, she was interrogating the people who had made mistakes on behalf of the Yin clan. Although the two maidservants don't have much status in the Yin clan, they are still part of the Yin clan. I want to know if the people who have broken the clan rules are interrogated by outsiders. Lung Ruoxue asked the elders with a face full of doubt. Chapter 1436. The Confrontation 3. How is this possible? How could Xiaolan be so bold? Who's supporting her? After hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, one of the elders immediately shouted angrily. Xiaolan is the substitute clan head's maternal niece. The people who will support her are, of course, the substitute clan head and a mistress. An elder reminded. The person who said this was naturally someone who had a good relationship with Yin Bang and knew the truth. The purpose of his words was to drag Yin Ping into the water and reduce the dissatisfaction and suspicion the elders had towards Yin Bang. Elder, did you not hear what I said? I've already said that Xiaolan has been asked to leave the Yin clan by your acting clan head. As for where she is now, if you don't know, you can ask Elder Bang. He will tell you. Lung Ruoxue reminded him with a half-smile. Xiaolan's family had been invited by Yin Bang to stay in their own courtyard temporarily. This matter was no longer a secret in the Yin family, so Lung Ruoxue did not believe that the person who had just spoken was not aware of it. However, whether he was really stupid or pretending to be stupid, it was useless in front of her. The elder who spoke was speechless. How could he continue with this? AI, Elder Bang, it's not that I don't want to help you, but this woman is too powerful. I can't do anything about it. You're on your own. At the thought of this, he obediently shut his mouth. Elder Bang, where's Xiaolan now? Seeing that the elder had stopped talking, Lung Ruoxue turned to Yin Bang and asked, Elder Bang, did you really bring Xiaolan to your own residence? An elder asked in disbelief. He had also heard some rumors about this matter, but he had not seen it with his own eyes. Now, that everyone was curious, he might as well ask. I took pity on her, so I took her in out of kindness, but I didn't expect that she would steal my token and injure the two maidservants in the prison. Yin Bang said with regret. Elder Bang, you're a god king, right? Lung Ruoxue asked with a smile. So what if I am? Yin Bang coldly replied. Although god kings are not the strongest in the divine realm, they are still one of the strongest. You were actually able to let a woman who was not as strong as you steal your token. Could it be that your storage ring has developed intelligence and knew how to betray you with Xiaolan's help? Lung Ruoxue asked with a face full of curiosity. Her beautiful eyes kept glancing at Yin Bang's storage ring, as if she was trying to see if the ring had developed a spirit. And her words made Yin Xin couldn't help but laugh out loud. Haha, my sister is so amazing. She's my idol. Her heart was filled with excitement. Her eyes were fixed on Lung Ruoxue, afraid that she would miss out on any interesting scene. Elder Bang, what is your explanation for this latest words? Seeing that Bang did not respond for a long time, an anxious elder could not help but ask. Bang didn't know how to explain. It seemed useless to say that Xiao Lan was Ping's niece. These elders weren't stupid. How could they believe him so easily? He was really depressed and conflicted. Don't make things difficult for Elder Bang. He's so embarrassed to say it. So I guess this matter is also quite embarrassing for him. It's possible that Xiao Lan used a honey trap, and Elder Bang fell for it when he wasn't paying attention. Lung Ruoxue laughed. Why were they the ones making things difficult for Elder Bang? The one who had made things difficult for Elder Bang and left him speechless was clearly this woman in front of him. When the elders heard Lung Ruoxue's words, they couldn't help but curse in their hearts. However, at this time, there were fewer and fewer elders who wanted to speak up for Bang. Even Elder Bang, who had always been eloquent, was rendered speechless by Lung Ruoxue's questioning. Of course, they couldn't take the initiative to give themselves up to be questioned by others. Furthermore, they were very sure that they would definitely not be able to win against Lung Ruoxue. Sister, whether Xiao Lan used the honey trap or not, and how she obtained the Grand Elder's medallion, we could just find out by asking her, right? At this time, Xian, who had not said a word, reminded him. Xian Heir's words make sense. Clan head can you invite Xiao Lan in now? However, it's best for Elder Bang to avoid it. After all, you're the person involved. Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. Bring Xiao Lan in. Elder Bang, you can stay in the inner hall. Without my permission, you are not allowed to come out. After Ping finished speaking, he gave a look to the guard beside him. Following that, the guard respectfully invited Elder Bang into the inner hall. The so-called inner hall referred to a closed single room in the meeting hall. The purpose of this room was to prevent the weaker party from being threatened by the other party and telling false information when such a thing happened. In the inner hall, even a reverent god couldn't know what was going on outside, let alone threaten the other party through voice transmission. This was also a kind of protection for the weaker party. After Bang was unwillingly invited into the inner hall, Xiao Lan was brought up by a guard. Seeing that the meeting hall was filled with elders, the confused Xiao Lan was shocked. She did not know why she was here. Her beautiful eyes searched for Elder Bang's whereabouts, but found nothing. Then, she suddenly noticed Lung Ruoxue and could not help but be filled with anger. What are you doing here? Xiao Lan looked at Lung Ruoxue as if she had seen her father's murderer. She immediately rushed in front of Lung Ruoxue and questioned her angrily. I'm here because of the opportunity Miss Lan gave me. Miss Lan, don't just stand there. Please take a seat. Lung Ruoxue pointed to the seat beside her. You're tactful. Xiao Lan did not even think twice before taking the seat that Lung Ruoxue had pointed out. When the elders saw this, they could not help but take a deep breath. They did not know what to say because that seat belonged to the great elder. Until now, no one had dared to sit there. Xiao Lan, you can't just sit there, get up. Seeing that Xiao Lan had really sat down, Ping couldn't help but roar in anger. She was really brainless. No wonder Lung Ruoxue didn't even care about her. He had always thought that Xiao Lan was quite smart, but why did she seem so stupid when compared to Lung Ruoxue? It was really too strange. Why do you want me to get up? If she can sit here, why can't I? When Xiao Lan heard Ping's words, she said angrily, "Humph. And he's my uncle." He actually caused her to be embarrassed in public. At this moment, she even hated Ping, who she had been trying to please. That's the seat of the great elder. You can't sit there. Ping gritted his teeth. Oh, when she heard that it was the seat of the great elder, Xiao Lan did not dare to continue sitting there. However, she remembered that it was Lung Ruoxue who had asked her to sit there, and the anger in her heart rushed up again. Damn it, you actually framed me? How did I frame you? I'm kind enough to let you sit down, yet you're blaming me. My good intentions really don't get rewarded. Lung Ruoxue sighed with a face full of hidden bitterness. This is the seat of the Great Elder, and you're asking me to sit here? If this isn't a trap, then what is? Xiao Lan asked angrily. I'm not a member of the Yin family. How would I know whose seat it is? I only saw that it was empty. It's fine even if it's empty. It doesn't matter who's sitting. If you don't want to sit here, you could just sit there. Lung Ruoxue pointed to the seat opposite her. That's the seat of the second elder. You can't sit there either. Before Xiao Lan could sit down, Yin Ping felt a headache coming on and quickly said he could tell that Lung Ruoxue was clearly toying with Xiao Lan. It was a pity that Xiao Lan, who thought she was smart, didn't know. You're framing me again, Xiao Lan said angrily after hearing Yin Ping's words. I'm sorry, I didn't know that was the second elder's seat. All the seats are full now, why don't you stand for a while? After Yin Bang was brought into the inner hall of the meeting hall, there was originally an empty seat. However, it just so happened that the elder who was standing had taken it, so there really wasn't any space for Xiao Lan to sit. However, it was obvious that she thought it would be better for Xiao Lan to stand. After all, she had brought Xiao Lan here to confront her. Stand up, I want to sit in your seat. Xiao Lan ordered in an overbearing manner. My seat was given to me by the third elder. If he agrees, I can give this seat to you. Lung Ruoxue said with a light smile. Do you think I'm that easy to fool? How could the third elder possibly give his position to you? Xiao Lan said with a look of disbelief. Although she didn't believe it, she didn't dare to ask the third elder. It's up to you to believe it or not. After Lung Ruoxue finished speaking, she turned her head and ignored Xiao Lan, who was stomping her feet in anger. When they heard Lung Ruoxue's words, the elders present had a tacit understanding not to make any comments, lest they anger the depressed middle third elder. Xiao Lan glared at Lung Ruoxue for a long time before turning to look at the elders present. Finally, she fixed her gaze on Xiao Lin and said with a wronged expression, Aunt, how can you just watch me get bullied by outsiders? Cousin Lan, I invited you to the meeting hall to discuss a matter, so it's better for you to stand. Yin Xian couldn't stand it anymore and said, hee. Her father's impression of Xiao Lan should be even worse now. His sister was really amazing. With just a few simple words, she was able to make Xiao Lan reveal her true colors. A hostage? What confrontation? Xiao Lan was confused. You went to the prison and tortured my two maidservants, right? Lung Ruoxue asked with a calm smile. So what if I am? They violated the Yin clan's rules, and I went to interrogate them on behalf of Elder Bang. However, they were too stubborn and insisted that you were the one who rewarded them. I had no choice but to use torture. Xiao Lan said disapprovingly. You used Elder Bang's token to enter the prison, right? I'm very curious. How did Elder Bang's token end up in your hands? Lung Ruoxue did not argue with her and continued to ask. However, her question caused some of the elders present to feel anxious. Just as they were about to open their mouths to warn Xiao Lan not to speak nonsense, they were suddenly attacked by a red light that flew past them at high speed. Immediately, their mouths swelled up. They mumbled for a long time, but they could not say a complete sentence. After the red light finished attacking the unlucky elder, it flew back to Lung Ruoxue's wrist and wagged its little tail happily, as if it was very satisfied with its work. Lung Ruoxue gently stroked Xiaohu's soft scales as her beautiful eyes swept across the elders present. Just a casual glance had caused the pressure on them to increase. This was really too strange. None of the elders could understand why the other party, who was only a mid-level deity, would cause them to feel pressured. And this kind of pressure seemed to be innate. Chapter 1437, Self-Righteous 1. Due to the pressure that Lung Ruoxue was giving them, all the elders present did not dare to speak. After Xiao Lan heard Lung Ruoxue's words, she said disapprovingly, That's right, I used Elder Bang's token to enter the prison. How did his token end up in your hands? Lung Ruoxue asked with a light smile. Her tone was as if she was just having a casual conversation. Of course he gave it to me. Otherwise, how could I have gotten it? Xiao Lan replied with a disdainful look, as if she was saying, Do you even need to ask such a simple question? Substitute clan head, elders, you've all heard it, right? Lung Ruashu asked with a light smile. I heard it. Some of the elders replied. However, a considerable portion of the elders didn't say anything because they didn't know what to say. What's the meaning of this? What do you want to do? After Xiao Lan heard what they said, she looked at the gloomy expressions on the elders' faces. She was puzzled. What was going on? Cousin, why did Elder Bang give you the token? Seeing no one speak, In Xin couldn't help but ask curiously. Of course. Why should I tell you? After saying a few words, Xiao Lan felt that something was wrong, so she changed the topic and questioned him. I advise you to answer Xian Er's question, because Elder Tai said that his token was stolen by you. Lung Ruoxue chuckled as she reminded him. How is this possible? There's no way he would say that. I don't believe it. Xiao Lan's eyes were wide open as she shouted in disbelief. AI, poor guy. Even after being betrayed, he's still helping others count their money. You went to the prison and injured the Yin clan's maidservant, which in itself is considered overstepping your boundaries. Do you think the Yin clan will tolerate such a thing? Your actions are clearly a challenge to the Yin clan's authority. Because of the token, Elder Bang can't even protect himself. Do you think he still dares to speak for you? Don't be silly. In order to protect his position, the first person he betrayed was you. Lung Ruoxue said, gloating. I don't believe what you're saying. You're lying. Xiaolan couldn't help but shout. The curator didn't have the demeanor of a well-educated and polite young miss from a large family. Why else do you think the Yin family head ordered you to be brought here? Do you really not understand, or are you just playing dumb? Lung Ruoxue said with a hint of mockery. Cousin, what Big Sister said is true. I did bring you here to have you confront Elder Bang. Moreover, he has already admitted in front of so many of us that his token was stolen, and he even said that you were the one who stole the token. However, he's a God King after all. I'm very curious as to how Cousin managed to steal the token from his hands. In Xian asked with an innocent look. I didn't steal it. I didn't steal his command token. He gave it to me and said that with this command token, I would be able to move unimpeded in the Yin clan, and no one would dare to stop me wherever I want to go. When Xiao Lan heard Yin Xian's words, she looked at the disappointed expressions on her aunt and uncle's faces and quickly said, Humph. If Yin Bang wanted her to take the blame alone, there was no way he would. Even if she were to die, she would drag Yin Bang down with her. She thought to herself with endless hatred. But what Elder Bang said is different from what you said. Which one of you is speaking the truth? In Xian's face was filled with confusion, as if she had been confused. Elders, who do you think is telling the truth? At this moment, Lung Ruoxue's evil intentions once again shifted the topic to the elders present. Elder Bang's words must be true. This woman has been chased out by the acting patriarch, so she must hate our Yin clan. Therefore, we can't believe everything she says. Upon hearing Lung Ruoxue's question, the elder who was on good terms with Yin Bang quickly replied, Oh, really? Miss Xiaolan, did you hear what this elder just said? Lung Ruoxue looked at Xiaolan and said with a smile that was not a smile. If Xiaolan was not stupid to a certain extent, she would not let go of Yin Bang. Otherwise, the Yin family, especially Yin Bang, would not let her off. Why should I hate the Yin family? Yin Bang said he would take revenge for me. So I promised him my body. You've obtained my body, and now that something has happened, you want to blame it all on me? I'm telling you. No way. You. And you. Don't think I don't know that you and Yin Bang are in the same boat. I know all the things you've been discussing behind your back. At most, we'll fight to the death, and none of you will be able to escape. In her anger, Xiaolan did not let Lung Ruoxue down. She revealed the few elders who were close to Yin Bang. Oomph. She wasn't someone who could be easily used. If she didn't have something on them, how would she dare to show off in the Yin family and act like a tyrant for so many years? She couldn't help but be a little proud in her heart. Don't talk nonsense. When did we ever discuss anything behind our backs? One of the elders who was pointed out by Xiao Lan shouted in a low voice while trembling. Elder Lang, is your memory that bad? Weren't you guys drinking together the day I arrived at Yin Bang's courtyard? Oh, and you insisted on having me drink with you. You even took advantage of me after getting me drunk. I still remember that. Xiaolan sneered. Aren't you drunk? How did you know that we took advantage of you? Your words are clearly contradictory. The man who was called Elder Lang was so angry that his face turned pale, and he couldn't help but roar. I'm just pretending to be drunk. Otherwise, I don't know how much more wine I would have to drink. I still remember what you guys said after I pretended to be drunk. Do you need me to remind you? Xiaolan said proudly. As soon as Xiaolan said this, Elder Lang didn't dare to speak anymore. He couldn't help but wipe the cold sweat on his forehead, and his heart was beating nervously. You two were not interested in the gossip between the two of you. Right now, we only want to know how Elder Bang's token ended up in Miss Xiaolan's hands. It was Miss Xiaolan who stole it. Lung Ruoxua saw that the time was right and spoke again. Of course he gave it to me. If you don't believe me, you can ask Elder Lang and the others. They were also present at the time. Xiaolan glared at the somewhat guilty Elder Lang and loudly said, Elder Lang, is what Xiaolan said true? When Yin Ping heard this, he also opened his mouth. Chapter 1438, Self-Righteous 2. It's true. It was Elder Bang who gave the token to Xiaolan. In front of everyone, Elder Lang had to betray Yin Bang in order to clear his name. He didn't want to be implicated by Yin Bang because of this. He could tell that these women were not to be trifled with. He had to remember to stay far away from women in the future. Patriarch Yin, didn't Miss Xiaolan say that Elder Lang and Yin Bang weren't the only ones? For the sake of fairness, I think you should also ask the other elders. Right, the third elder's opinion is also very important. Lung Ruoxua chuckled as she reminded him. Miss Lung's words are reasonable. Yin Ping nodded in agreement, and then his eyes turned to the few elders who had been pointed out by Xiaolan. Acting patriarch, what Elder Lang said is true. The token was indeed given to Xiaolan by Elder Bang. We can be witnesses. The few of them were so frightened that they hurriedly said in unison, Why didn't you tell the truth before? A dignified elder actually allowed others to wrongly accuse an innocent woman. Is this something an elder should do? Lung Ruoxu asked with a cold smile. It is. Why didn't you say so earlier? You even caused me to be wrongly accused. Xiaolan questioned Lung Ruoxu after hearing her words. We're also trying to protect Elder Bang's reputation. The elders looked at each other and whispered. From that look, they had already made the decision to give up on Yin Bang. Otherwise, they would not be able to protect themselves. In order to protect Elder Bang's reputation, you want someone else to be the scapegoat? Isn't your behavior really chilling? If the entire Yin family knew that there was such a scum among their elders who could betray others at any time for the sake of their reputation, I wonder if they would still respect you as they always did. Lung Ruoxu's words were like a sharp knife cutting into their bodies, causing a chill to rise in their hearts. At this moment, the third elder, who had been angered to the point of being half dead, had actually closed his eyes and pretended to be asleep. Uncle, you have to uphold justice for me. They actually dared to humiliate me like this. I don't want to live anymore. Lung Ruoxu's words gave Xiaolan a huge inspiration, so she immediately knelt in front of Yin Ping and started crying like a pear blossom bathed in rain. You get up. Don't embarrass yourself here. Yin Ping looked at Xiaolan with some disgust, sigh. Why did he think that Xiaolan was obedient and sensible in the past? He had really misjudged her. This must be Xiaolan's true face. Xiaolan could hear the displeasure in Yin Ping's voice. She sobbed as she stood up from the ground, not daring to say anything else. She knew that she had already provoked her uncle's hatred. AI. Her many years of planning had been destroyed in a day, and it was all that damned woman Lung Ruoxu's fault. She hated her in her heart, but now was not the time to be angry with Lung Ruoxu. She was still counting on Lung Ruoxu to help her deal with Yin Bang and the others. Seeing that the elders did not speak, Xiaolan seemed to have stopped. Lung Ruoxu's beautiful eyes turned towards Yin Ping and said indifferently, Clan Head Yin, it should be clear that Miss Xiaolan didn't steal Elder Bang's medallion, but was given to her by Elder Bang. Does anyone have any objections? You can bring it up now. Even though Lung Ruoxu's words were directed at Yin Ping, she was asking all the elders present. At this moment, none of the elders dared to speak. I have no objections, Yin Ping said, holding back his laughter. He was full of praise in his heart. This Lung Ruoxue was really smart and ruthless. With just a few words, she had actually helped Xiaolan clear her suspicion of stealing the token. However, would she be so kind? Or did she have another move? Yin Ping was looking forward to Lung Ruoxue's next performance because he didn't believe that Lung Ruoxue would be so kind as to help Xiaolan. One must know that ever since they had sat here, Lung Ruoxue had almost never mentioned the two servant girls who serve her. He remembered very clearly that Lung Ruoxue had requested to attend their elders' meeting because of those two servant girls. If any of you have a different opinion, you can raise it now. Otherwise, once the matter is settled, there will be no room for turning back. Following that, Yin Ping reminded the elders. Acting patriarch, I have no objections. An elder spoke first. We don't have any either. After most of the elders expressed their opinions, the elders who were closer to Yin Bang also quickly followed. Does third elder have any objections? Lung Ruoxue asked curiously when she saw that third elder had yet to speak. After hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, Yin Ping's forehead started to drip with cold sweat. He couldn't understand why Lung Ruoxue would have her eyes on third elder. Poor third elder. You're on your own. You've taken my seat, so you're the third elder, so you don't need to ask me. The third elder, who was pretending to be asleep, said in a bad mood. However, as soon as he said this, all the elders' foreheads were filled with black lines, and they all sighed in their hearts at the same time. It looked like the third elder had gone mad with anger. To actually say such words, did this sound like something a normal person would say? Don't tell me that whoever takes your position will be the third elder. Then if someone sat in the position of great elder, wouldn't he also become a great elder? Since third elder is so modest, then I will not refuse. Lung Ruoxue laughed and replied without any trace of politeness. You're welcome. The third elder suddenly opened his eyes and shouted while suppressing his anger. The first three elders are so angry. Anger is harmful to the body, especially at your age. You have to take care of your health. Lung Ruoxue emphasized the word front, angering third elder so much that he couldn't speak. He could only sit on the chair and stare. If looks could kill, Lung Ruoxue would have died 1,000 times over. When the other elders heard Lung Ruoxue's words, they immediately raised her to the level of an idol. What was this woman's background? She actually dared to speak to third elder in such a manner and even drove the usually calm third elder mad. Otherwise, third elder wouldn't have said that she was the third elder. One should know that the position of an elder wasn't just for anyone. Other than having strong abilities, one had to make contributions to the family or have an important position and prestige in the family. In short, someone like Lung Ruoxue, who had an unknown background, had to have a strong background. A woman with an unknown identity was definitely not qualified to become an elder, even if she was just an ordinary elder. Chapter 1439, Self-Righteous 3, Cough Cough. Yin Ping saw that the atmosphere was a little stiff and coughed lightly twice, pulling the elders' minds back. Clan head Yin Dai, the elders have no objections. You can decide how to deal with this matter. Lung Ruoxue chuckled in a good mood. Her participation in the elders' meeting this time was not in vain. Not only did she get the position of third elder for no reason, but she also took the opportunity to deal with Xiaolan and Yin Bang, the two villains who colluded with each other. Her hard work in acting was not in vain. Since the elders have no objections, I will now announce my decision on Yin Bang. First, remove Elder Yin Bang from his position and inform the entire clan. Second, banish the entire Yin Bang clan to Flowing Wind Valley, never to return to the main city. If there are no objections, then I will announce these two decisions on behalf of the Patriarch and the Elder Council. Yin Ping looked at the elders present and said, Master, Bang only lent the token to Xiaolan. Isn't this punishment a bit heavy? An elder who had a good relationship with Bang looked at Ping's expression and said carefully, "Heavy? What was Bang's purpose in lending out the token? Don't you know how serious the consequences are?" Ping asked coldly. He didn't believe that these elders, who shared the same pants as Bang, didn't know what Bang's goal was and what Xiaolan had done. This was the best opportunity to get rid of Bang, so he would not let it go. This time, Bang could forget about turning the tables. Substitute Patriarch there's no need for you to be so angry. I'm sure many of the elders present don't know what kind of consequences Elder Bang's token has caused. Why don't you order someone to bring the consequences in? Lung Ruoxua laughed coldly. Good. Bring in the grapes and lotus seeds. Ping nodded his head and ordered the guards beside him. The guards received the orders of the acting family head and soon carried 2 stretchers into the meeting hall. The elders who were sitting looked at the 2 bloody women on the stretchers, whose faces could not be seen, and were shocked. Ugh, were these 2 the grape and lotus seed that the acting family head had mentioned? How'd it end up like this? Among those present, other than a portion of the elders who understood the truth, many of the elders were confused. Previously, they had heard from Lung Ruoxua and the others that Xiaolan had tortured the 2 maidservants of the Yin family. However, they did not expect Xiaolan to be so harsh. One should know that even the Yin family would not torture their clansmen who had committed a crime. At most, they would send them to a remote place and let them fend for themselves. However, Xiaolan's methods were clearly beyond their understanding, which made them a little angry. The Yin family had made a mistake, but they themselves were not willing to take action. Now, the 2 maidservants in the prison had been beaten by an outsider. This was a huge humiliation to the Yin family. Therefore, in an instant, the anger in their hearts was ignited. Clan head, Xiaolan actually beat up our clansmen like this. We can't just let this matter go. We must punish Xiaolan severely. An elder shouted with righteous indignation. Right, punish Xiaolan severely. Since when did outsiders have the right to attack our Yin clan's people? This is preposterous. A single stone caused 1,000 ripples. After seeing the 2 maidservants covered in injuries, most of the elders were furious. Lung Ruoxua watched all of this coldly from the side and laughed coldly in her heart. This was exactly the result she wanted. She wanted to clear Xiaolan of the suspicion of stealing the token so that Bang would be dragged into this mess as well. The token in Xiaolan's hands was not stolen, so Bang would be charged with the crime of betraying others and colluding with outsiders to harm his clansmen. In this way, Bang's reputation would be ruined, and his clansmen would all cast him aside. Oh, could this be considered as indirectly helping Ping, the acting family head? Seeing the fierce looks on the elders' faces, Xiaolan was a little scared. Her beautiful eyes were filled with tears as she cried, "It's not my fault. Bang gave me the token, and he was the one who asked me to interrogate these 2 maidservants. You're just an outsider. What right do you have to question our clan's people? Even if it's just 2 servant girls who made a mistake, you don't have the right." A tall and fierce-looking elder angrily rebuked. There's no need for this elder to be so angry. In truth, my 2 maidservants did not do anything wrong, but Bang insisted on accusing them of stealing the things your head butler had given me. He even domineeringly locked them up and incited Miss Lan to torture them. The true cause of this incident was my beast that had bitten Miss Lan. Bang wanted to avenge her, so these 2 maidservants are completely innocent. They should not have been treated like this. Lung Ruoxua said with a pained expression. Her words caused many of the family's elders who were considered upright to fall silent. After all, this kind of thing was not uncommon in large families, and it was rare for people to bring this matter up in public because of the 2 maidservants. However, Lung Ruoxua had revealed the truth behind the scenes today, so they had no choice but to take it seriously. Even the elders who had thought that the punishment given to Bang by the substitute family head was too heavy did not dare to make a sound. After a moment of silence, Lung Ruoxua smiled and said, "The truth of the matter is already known to all the elders. If you have any opinions or thoughts, everyone can speak freely. Acting patriarch. I think Bang's punishment is a bit light. He's such a traitor, and he doesn't care about the morality of his race. We can't let him off easily. We should expel him from the clan and inform the entire divine realm. An elder suggested. I agree. I also agree. As soon as this elder spoke, it immediately received the response of many elders. They'll consider your opinions, but expelling Bang from the clan is no small matter. They'll have to ask the patriarch for instructions before I can make a final decision. As for Xiaolan, you can deal with her however you want. There's no need to give us face. Ping thought for a while and said he didn't want the elders to let Xiaolan go just because of their relationship with her. In this way, he would have something to criticize in the hands of the elders. Now that he had lost his previous good impression of Xiaolan, he naturally wouldn't care about her life or death. Moreover, what Xiaolan had done was indeed intolerable to the family. Uncle, you can't leave me alone. It was Bang who made me do it. He said that he would think of a way to avenge me, and even said that he would hand Lung Ruoxue and the 2 maidservants over to me to deal with. I was also eager to take revenge, which was why I got involved with him. Uncle, please help me. After hearing Ping's words, Xiaolan, who was already a little scared, became even more nervous. It was as if the end of the world had arrived. Her face was covered in tears, and she looked as pitiful as she could be. However, not many of the elders present would pity her, who asked her to do something that had already exceeded the family's bottom line. As one of the 8 great divine regions, how could the family tolerate an outsider riding on top of their own family? Clan head Dai, Xiaolan has injured my 2 maidservants so severely. Shouldn't you give them an explanation? Lung Ruoxue smiled and said, What kind of explanation do you want? Ping was a little surprised. He knew that Lung Ruoxue wouldn't let Xiaolan off so easily, but he didn't know how she was going to deal with Xiaolan. I like to give her a taste of her own medicine. Since Xiaolan has severely injured my maidservant, there's no reason for her to be alive. Lung Ruoxue said without a trace of emotion. Then he'll leave Xiaolan to you. Ping sighed lightly and said straightforwardly. He didn't expect that Lung Ruoxue would actually be willing to stand up for 2 maidservants. One must know that these 2 maidservants were members of their clan. As the acting clan head of the clan, even though he could not act as he pleased like Lung Ruoxue, he still had the authority to hand over Xiaolan to them. That won't hold back. After Grape and Lianzi are done with their revenge, I will return Xiaolan to you. Lung Ruoxue smiled in satisfaction. Yes. Ping nodded his head. Although he really wanted to say that he didn't need to return it, he didn't say it out loud. No, uncle, don't give me to her. When Xiaolan heard that Ping wanted to hand her over to Lung Ruoxue, she panicked and cried out in alarm. However, she was ignored by Ping. Aunt, don't let uncle hand me over to someone else. I'm begging you. Aunt. Seeing that her uncle wasn't even looking at her, Xiaolan had no choice but to ask Xiaolin for help. However, Xiaolin had also turned her head and looked to the other side. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue stood up from her seat and took out 2 pills from her bangle. She stuffed them into Grape and Lotus mouths. Not long after, the 2 maidservants stood up from the rack. Even though their clothes were still stained with blood that caused one's heart to palpitate, the 2 of them knew very well that their injuries had all healed. It was just that their clothes were still a little scary. Miss, after the 2 of them stood up, they looked at Lung Ruoxue gratefully. Even though their minds were not very clear, they had heard the contents of the confrontation intermittently and knew that Lung Ruoxue had done a lot for them. Hence, at this moment, their hearts were filled with gratitude and admiration for Lung Ruoxue. The substitute clan head has already agreed to let you take revenge on Xiaolan. Why don't you quickly thank him? Lung Ruoxue pointed at Xiaolan, who was still struggling on her deathbed, and said to the 2 maidservants, Thank you for acting patriarch's fairness and severity. Grape and Lotus Seed bowed and said, You have been wronged. The family should seek justice for you. Ping said with some shame, Acting family head, we really didn't take anything from the young lady. The young lady would give us anything she has. Why should we steal it? Grape thought for a while and said, I know. I'm already clear on this matter. Ping said helplessly. He was already cursing Bang in his heart. House Master Dai, Elder Bang, can be released from the inner hall. Lung Ruoxue reminded him with a faint smile. Yes, go and invite Bang out. Ping ordered the guard beside him. Bang, who was in the inner hall, was worried that Xiao Lan would expose what had happened between them. However, when he saw that the guard who had gone to invite him out was still respectful, he was slightly relieved. When he came out, he saw that the elder's expressions were normal, and Xiao Lan was standing at the side like a wooden block. He felt more at ease. Xiao Lan, how dare you steal my token? You really don't want to live anymore. Bang shouted, trying to prove his innocence. Chapter 1440. Meeting the Little One Again, 1. As soon as Bang spoke, the elder's expressions turned strange. However, he did not mind it because he knew that many of these elders would stand on his side. Therefore, he did not care even if some of them believed Xiao Lan's words. After all, Xiao Lan was an outsider, and it was almost impossible for the elders to stand on her side. Unfortunately, he had underestimated Lung Ruoxue's role in this. Lung Ruoxue watched Bang's excellent performance with cold eyes and slowly opened her mouth to speak. Elder Bang, oh, it was wrong. You're no longer an elder of clan, so I should be calling you Bang. What did you just say? How can I not be an elder of the clan? Before Lung Ruoxue could finish her sentence, Bang stomped his feet in anger and roared. Oh, that's right. You don't know about this yet. Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. You're no longer an elder of the clan, and you'll be sent to some Flowing Wind Valley. The name Flowing Wind Valley sounds pretty good, but I don't know if it's as beautiful as its name. I wish you a happy life there. Lung Ruoxue laughed. Flowing Wind Valley? I've been banished. This was impossible. You're lying to me. Bang did not believe Lung Ruoxue's words at all. His first reaction was that Lung Ruoxue was lying to him. Patriarch you should tell Bang the good news. Lung Ruoxue suggested with a smile. Yes. Ping nodded and then said to Bang, Bang, after the discussion between me and the elders, you have been stripped of your position as an elder and will be sent to the Flowing Wind Valley from today onwards. However, in view of the serious consequences caused by your actions, the elders have proposed to expel you from the family. I will make an announcement after reporting this matter to the family head. Ping, can you repeat that? Why do you have to do this? I know that you've always found me an eyesore, but what mistake have I made for you to treat me like this? If the head of the family knew that you treated your brother like this, he would not let you off. Bang said angrily after hearing Ping's words. He was so angry that he didn't even address him as the acting family head. Bang, don't you know what you've done? You keep saying that your token was stolen, but after investigation, we've found out the truth. You gave the token to Xiao Lan and even promised her that you would take revenge for her. What else do you have to say? Ping sneered as he questioned. This? How could you all believe Xiao Lan's one-sided story? She's your niece. Bang reminded after hearing Ping's words. She's indeed my niece, but everyone knows that she is staying at your place now. Moreover, the proof that you gave her the token is not just based on her one-sided statement. The elders who are close to you have also confirmed that you did give the token to Xiao Lan. They were all present at the time. Now, there are witnesses and physical evidence. Do you have anything else to say? Ping said with a faint smile. This is impossible. Bang couldn't believe Ping's words and turned to look at Elder Lang and the others. However, those elders actually turned their heads in unison. Bang, we're all clear about what happened, and we have no opinion on your punishment, so you should accept it. At this moment, an elder spoke indifferently. After he finished speaking, he couldn't help but sigh. What do you know? I didn't ask Xiao Lan to torture the two maidservants in the prison. It was Xiao Lan who acted on her own. What does this have to do with me? Bang quibbled, not mentioning the token at all. Bang, if she didn't have the token you gave her, would she have been able to enter the prison? Even if you didn't send her to prison, you created the conditions for her to go to prison. This matter started because of you, so you can't shirk it. As for what your goal is, you know it better than anyone else. Lung Ruashua laughed coldly. This is our clan's matter. How can an outsider like you interrupt? Upon hearing Lung Ruakshu's words, Bang, who was still holding on to a glimmer of hope, was even more furious. This woman was clearly adding insult to injury. I really don't know how I've offended her. Why did she have to go against him? He could not understand. Am I an outsider? Your clan's third elder has already given his position to me. Am now your clan's third elder. Lung Ruashua reminded Bang of this fact calmly. What? How is this possible? Bang asked in disbelief. The third elder couldn't have done something like this. How could the position of an elder be given to someone else just like that? If you don't believe me, you can ask the first 3 elders. Lung Ruashua smiled as she reminded him. Third elder, is this woman telling the truth? The moment Lung Ruashua finished speaking, Bang asked hurriedly. It's true, the furious third elder said in an unpleasant tone. Third elder, how could you do this? The third elder's words infuriated Bang. He even forgot his own status and roared at the third elder. What I want to do is my own business. You, a sinner who is about to be expelled from the family, have no right to question me. When the third elder heard Bang's words, his already unsightly expression darkened even more. I didn't question you. I just don't understand. Bang said with a smile. The third elder was his biggest backer, and he would never dare to offend the third elder. There's nothing I don't understand. In any case, I'm just an empty third elder. No one respects me at all. Since that's the case, why don't I give it to someone else? The moment he finished speaking, the faces of everyone present, including Ping, instantly turned ugly. This was because the third elder's words weren't only meant for Lung Ruashua to hear. He had clearly included everyone present in his calculations. Third elder has a high status in our clan. Who would dare to disrespect you? If anyone dares to look down on you, they'll be the first to not forgive him. Bang quickly said, It's too late for you to say all this now. You won't be a member of our clan very soon, and I won't be the third elder. The third elder lightly raised his eyes and indifferently reminded. Well said, acting patriarch. Can you order your men to take Bang away? They still have to pack up and head to Windflow Valley. After hearing third elder's words, Lung Ruashua laughed nonchalantly. Chapter 1441. Meeting the little one again to bringing Bang back to his residence and watch them pack up. They're not allowed to take a single needle or thread out of the family's master's residence. Ping nodded and ordered the guards beside him. Yes, master, the guard replied, then grabbed Bang's arm and led him out of the meeting hall. Let go. You guys let go. I'm an elder of the family. You can't treat me like this. I won't let you off. Bang cried out in alarm. His voice was still reverberating in the meeting hall, but he had already been dragged out of the meeting hall by the guards. You can also take Xiaolan with you. Ping turned to Lung Ruashua and said. All right, he said. Lung Ruashua nodded. She then turned to Grape and Lianzi. Let's go back to Bright Stream Garden. Xiaolan is now your exclusive property, so you can play with her however you want. Hearing Lung Ruakshu's words, Grape and Lotus Seed's foreheads were filled with black lines. Miss words really made it too easy for people to have their own thoughts. Furthermore, they were not interested in Xiaolan. They hoped that no one would misunderstand. Don't just stand there. Take Xiaolan and let's go back to Bright Stream Garden. Lung Ruashua saw that Grape and Lotus Seed were still standing there stupidly after hearing her words. She couldn't help but remind them with a smile. Oh, yes, Grape and Lotus replied, slightly embarrassed. Then, the two of them grabbed Xiaolan's arms and followed Lung Ruashua back to Mingxi Garden. When they arrived at Mingxi Garden, Grape looked at Xiaolan, who was an eyesore, and asked with a look of disdain, Miss, what should we do with this woman? She's yours now, so you can do whatever you want with her. Also, you can rest assured that the acting master of the family will not blame you. Lung Roashue was afraid that they wouldn't dare to make a move because of Yin Ping, so she gave the two of them a calming pill. Yes, we know. Grape and Lotus Seed quickly nodded. With the young miss around, how could the acting family head be dissatisfied? They could see that the Yin family's elders couldn't do anything to the young lady. Moreover, they seemed to be quite afraid of Xiaohua. However, what surprised them even more was that the third elder would actually give up the position of elder to the young lady in a fit of anger. This was really too inconceivable. Since take Xiaolan down and treat her well. We must make her feel at home. Lung Roashua laughed evilly. Yes. Grape and Lotus Seed looked at each other, feeling very satisfied. They didn't expect Xiaolan, who had always been arrogant in the Yin family, to have such a day. It seemed that sometimes one should not be too cocky, or else one would suffer retribution. Xiaolan's failure this time would definitely make the people in the Yin family who had been bullied by her very happy, and they were naturally included in this group. The two of them took Xiaolan to the storeroom and tied her up with a rope. Xiaolan, who had been in a daze, slowly came back to her senses. After seeing her condition, she shouted again, "How dare you? Do you know who I am? You actually dare to treat me like this. Aunt and uncle won't let you off. Miss Lan, it was on behalf of the family head who handed you over to us to deal with. Have you forgotten?" Grape said with a very kind smile. "You're wrong. You must be mistaken." It was unknown whether Xiaolan was really scared out of her wits or her mind was in a state of confusion, but she kept repeating the words, "You've made a mistake." Seeing that she was talking nonstop, Grape and Lotus Seed had no choice but to use a piece of rag to block her mouth. "It's finally quiet now. If you disturb the young lad's sleep, we'll teach you a lesson." After Grape warned him, she pulled Lotus Seed along and left the storage room. For the next few days, Grape and Lotus went to the storeroom to entertain Xiaolan while Lung Ruoxua was taking a nap. After a few days of their warm hospitality, Xiaolan's body was covered in wounds, and it was a terrible sight. However, they would not be soft-hearted to Xiaolan because they had been tortured by her in the past. Now, they were just returning everything that Xiaolan had done to her. The Yin family had temporarily calmed down after the incident with Yin Bang and Xiaolan. At the same time, the Yin family had also realized that they could not offend the women living in Mingxi Garden, nor should they have any ideas about the people around her. Otherwise, they would die without even knowing how they died. Weren't Yin Bang and Xiaolan the best examples? Yin Bang had not only been stripped of his position as an elder for helping outsiders bully his own clansmen, but he had also been sent to Windflow Valley to fend for himself. He had even been expelled from the Yin family with the approval of the patriarch. No one had ever thought that such an outcome would happen. There was also the depressed third elder who had lost his position as an elder because of a single angry word he had said. The great ancestor of the Yin family had actually agreed to this. Now that Lung Ruoxue was the genuine third elder of the Yin clan, even though many people had doubts about this decision, no one dared to question the old ancestor. The current Lung Ruoxue was definitely living a carefree and free life in the Yin clan. Furthermore, her status as an elder gave her even more special privileges. At least, that old man no longer forbade her from staying in Bright Stream Garden. After a few days, Grape and Lotus Seed brought Lung Ruoxue around the Yin residence. Lung Ruoxue had also become familiar with the Yin residents. At least, most of the clan members recognized her. However, there seemed to be something else in the eyes of the clan members and the elders. After learning that the Yin family's main residence was much bigger than she had imagined, Lung Ruoxue returned to Mingxi Garden and did not step out of the house. However, Yin Xian would come and disturb her from time to time. Looking at Lung Ruoxue lazily lying on the reclining chair, Grape and Lotus Seed couldn't help but feel worried. These days, no matter what their young miss did, she didn't seem to be interested. They really didn't know what was wrong with her. "Miss, how should we deal with Xiaolan?" Grape asked Lung Ruoxue, who was pretending to be asleep. "If you've had enough fun, you can return her to the Yindai clan head. You don't need to ask me about this kind of thing." Lung Ruashue replied indifferently, without even opening her eyes. Oh, Grape replied in disappointment. Can't Miss talk to them more? Miss, I heard from the head butler that the person who came to save Xiao Lan yesterday has yet to be caught. Lotus Seed continued after seeing Grape's failure. Chapter 1442. Meeting the little one again. 3. Tell the head butler that there's no need to look for them anymore. Those people have all been bitten by Xiaowa. Even if they're alive, they'd rather die. Lung Ruakshu's tone was still calm, and no one could hear the anger in her words. Yes, Lotus Seed replied. Then, she exchanged a look with Grape. The two quietly walked to the side and began to discuss in a low voice. Grape, what's wrong with Miss? Lotus Seed asked worriedly. I don't know. Could it be that you're tired of staying here and want to go out for a walk? Grape could not help but guess. Haven't you been outside for the past few days? Could it be that young lady is tired? Lotus Seed guessed. That's impossible, right? We're all cultivators. How can we get tired so easily? Grape refuted. The young miss had saved their lives, so they had long treated Lung Ruashue as their master. Now that they saw Lung Ruakshu's listless appearance, they were naturally very worried. You stay here with the young miss. He'll go outside and see if there's any good way to make the young miss happy. Grape said to Lianzi after some thought. Yes. Lotus Seed nodded and watched as Grape left Mingxi Garden. She then returned to Lung Ruakshu's side. For the next few days, Lung Ruashue had yet to see the grapes. She couldn't help but feel curious. Where did the grapes go? What are you busy with? I'm not too sure. Lotus Seed told the truth. He did not tell her what Grape was doing. Therefore, she was very curious about Grape's mystery. Moreover, Grape was not willing to tell her, which was really strange. You don't know, Lung Ruashue said with a slight frown. She had been thinking of an excuse to leave the Yin clan for the past few days, so she had not paid much attention to Grape's behavior. However, it was a little abnormal that even Lotus Seed did not know what the grapes were doing. As the two of them were talking, Grape sneakily walked in from outside the courtyard. When he saw Lung Ruashue, he ran to her with a face full of joy and presented her with a treasure. Miss, look what I brought you. What? Lung Ruashue lifted her beautiful eyes and saw that Grape's chest was bulging. There was even a hint of white, like the fur of some kind of beast. Miss, is this your beastie? Grape took out little beastie, which she had hidden in her arms, and whispered. Little guy. Lung Ruashue looked at the aggrieved and teary-eyed Xiao Buddy and suppressed the anger in her heart. As expected, Miss recognizes it. When Grape saw Lung Ruashue call out the little beast's name, he said happily. It seemed like her efforts these few days had not been in vain. Look at how happy Miss is now. Yes, I recognize it. It was all thanks to it that I was able to be brought to the divine realm. Where did you find it? Lung Ruashue gritted her teeth. Looking at Lung Ruakshu's clenched teeth, Grape wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and thought to himself, could she have misunderstood? Why was it that when the young miss saw this little thing, it was as if she had seen her enemy? I found it by a well in the main house. At that time, it was being bullied by the children of my clan. It was very scared when it saw me, thinking that I would also want to bully it like those children. I saw that it looked a little like the beastie that Miss had mentioned, so I spent a few days trying to please it. Finally, it was willing to come back with me. Grape explained. Actually, she had gone out of her way to look for this little beast because she had heard Lung Ruashue mention this little beast before. She had taken the initiative to think that this little beast was very important to Lung Ruashue. Unfortunately, this little beast had always been staying in the master's main courtyard, which was not a place she could enter often. Therefore, she had been wandering around outside the main courtyard for the past few days, wanting to see if she was lucky enough to meet this little beast. The young miss would definitely be very happy. However, after walking around the main courtyard for a few days, no beast came out. She had planned to return in disappointment, but accidentally found this injured little beast by a well. She saw that the little beast looked like a fox and wanted to bring it back. Who knew that although the little beast was not big, it was very fierce. As long as she wanted to get close to it, the little beast would show its sharp teeth to scare her. Afraid of being bitten, she had to spend a few days coaxing the little beast. Thus, it was only today that she was able to bring this cub back to Bright Stream Garden. Moreover, seeing that the young miss truly knew this beastie, she felt that everything she had done these past few days had been worth it. "Grape, you're so considerate," Lung Ruashua said. "Miss, this is what your subordinate should do." As soon as Grape finished speaking, she wanted to hand the little beastie over to Lung Ruashua. However, when the little beastie saw Lung Ruashua, it was extremely resistant and kept retreating into Grape's hand. Seeing that Xiao Budian was still so afraid of her, Lung Ruashua immediately took Xiao Budian from Grape's arms and pulled him into her embrace. Seeing the way Xiao Budian was looking at her pitifully, she could not help but chuckle. "Don't be afraid. I won't hit you, even though you betrayed me." "Really?" the little guy timidly asked. Ever since he sneaked out from that old man's side to play, there wasn't a single person that didn't bully him. The only kind-hearted big sister even handed him over to this demon. Sob, as the last fox of the Fox clan, why was his life so bitter? It couldn't help but wail in its heart. As long as you listen to me obediently, you will do whatever I tell you to do. Otherwise, they'll make you go and accompany your ancestor." Lung Ruashua smiled and threatened. This little thing was really too disobedient. If he didn't discipline her while she was still young, wouldn't she rebel against the heavens in the future? Besides, she couldn't let this little guy continue to think of her as a bad person. If it were to double-cross her a few more times, she would lose her little life in its hands sooner or later. Thus, she decided to adopt the strategy of seeking Xiao Budian's safety. From now on, she would let Xiao Budian stay by her side obediently and not go anywhere, in case he caused any more trouble. "You're threatening me. You're a bad person." When the little guy heard that this terrifying demon actually wanted him to accompany his ancestors, his little heart trembled nonstop. His leopard cat clan only had one leopard cat left, and if he went to accompany his ancestors, wouldn't the leopard cat clan disappear from this world? No, this was absolutely not allowed. Although the old ancestor's last words had instructed him to follow this destined master well, this master was really too bad. Can it change owners? When Grape and Lotus Seed heard Lung Ruakshu's words and saw the little guy's appearance, they were a little puzzled. Wasn't it better to accompany the old Grand Madam? Why did that little beast look as if it had suffered a great grievance? One had to know that in their Een clan, there were countless people who wanted to be by the old ancestor's side, but unfortunately, they didn't have a chance. This little beast actually didn't know how blessed it was, and the two of them couldn't help but curse in their hearts. "As long as you're obedient, they'll naturally dote on you," Lung Ruashua coaxed. "Really?" The little guy's face was filled with doubt. "Yes, you have to believe in my words. I've never lied to Beastie, but you're not allowed to betray me," Lung Ruashua warned. "I didn't betray you," the little guy said in a small voice. "Then why did I come to the divine realm?" Lung Ruashua questioned. This little thing actually dared to deny it. She really couldn't be taught. "It was that old man who brought you here." The little guy lowered his little head and said, "If you didn't bring him out of the nightmare forest, how would I have been brought to the divine realm by him?" Lung Ruashua said in an unpleasant tone, "I thought he was playing with me. That's how we've always been playing." The little guy explained with some grievance. Although he was young, he was not stupid. After seeing that the old man brought this female demon to the divine world, he knew that he had become an accomplice. Furthermore, he was also afraid that this demon would not let him off, so he had always stayed in that old man's residence. After all, compared to this demon, that old man was still quite good to him. However, after staying for a long time, he became a little bored, so he sneaked out. Who knew that the outside world would be so terrifying? Even such a cute beastie was being bullied. Compared to those hateful children, the female demoness was still considered kind. At the thought of this, it snuggled in Lung Ruakshu's arms and found a comfortable position to lie down. It even closed its eyes. Seeing Xiao Budian in this state, Lung Ruoxue sighed helplessly and carried him back to the room. After the little guy stayed in Mingxi Garden for a few days, he began to like the life here. Not only were there people who served him well every day, but after spending time with the female demon for a few days, he was surprised to find that the female demon didn't seem to be as scary as before. Sometimes, she would even play with him. This also slowly improved his impression of Lung Ruoxue. In the garden, the little guy excitedly scuttled around in the flower bushes. In a moment's time, the originally beautiful flowers in the garden had become wilted. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxue had no intention of stopping it. After all, the flowers and plants here did not belong to her, so even if they were destroyed, she would not feel any heartache. Furthermore, this was a good time for her and the little guy to get closer to each other, so she could not miss it. After all, she was still counting on the little guy to use his talent to bring her out of this place. She really had enough of being a canary. She didn't know what the old man's motive was for bringing her back. He actually didn't show his face all this time. However, it seemed that the old man didn't hide what happened in the Yin family. But what was the meaning of him hiding and not showing his face? She couldn't figure out what the old man was thinking. "Sister, come and play with me." The excited Xiao Budian looked at Lung Ruoxue, who was not too far away, and shouted. Over the past few days, his title of Lung Ruoxue had changed from demon to big sister. It could be seen that the relationship between the man and the beast had grown much closer. "I'm not in the mood to play. You can play by yourself," Lung Ruoxue said with a face full of hidden bitterness. She became listless again. Seeing this, Grape and Lotus Seed, who were by her side, did not change their expressions. They seemed to have gotten used to it. "Sister, you're in a bad mood? What's wrong?" Xiao Budian ran to Lung Ruoxue's side from the flowers and asked with concern. "I've been here for almost a month. If I stay any longer, it'll become stupid. I really don't know how long that old man wants to keep me locked up." Lung Ruoxue said in an exaggerated manner. "That old man is even more cunning than a fox. However, if elder sister wishes to leave, I can help you." The little guy spoke with a sense of loyalty. From this, it could be seen how successful Lung Ruoxue's abduction was. Chapter 1443, Meeting the Ning Family, 1. "You're really willing to help me?" Lung Ruoxue confirmed, but she couldn't help but chuckle in her heart. What an easily deceived little fellow. It was no wonder that she was deceived by the old man. Moreover, after spending these few days together, she also discovered that this little thing was actually a child who really needed someone to coax and accompany him. Even just giving him a little benefit could make him so happy that he couldn't find his north. So, her attitude toward the little guy had improved a lot these days. Yes, I don't want to stay here anymore. There's so many bad people here who like to bully me," the little guy said with the same feeling. "Then take me out of here." Lung Ruoxue deliberately thought for a while before she replied. "All right," he said. The man and the beast quickly reached a consensus. However, their conversation made Grape and Lotus, who were not far away, feel puzzled. They had no idea what they were talking about. In their eyes, how could this little beast possibly have the ability to bring Lung Ruoxue away from this place? Not to mention that the Yin residents had always been heavily guarded, and one had to go through layers of checks if they wanted to leave. Young Miss could not leave the main residence without the consent of the master. Therefore, they did not really believe what they had not pointed out. However, looking at young Miss' serious expression, the two of them were a little confused. "Miss, you can't leave the main residence without the permission of the master," Grape kindly reminded. "Who said that I can go anywhere I want with the little one, right?" "Little guy." Lung Ruoxue carried Xiao Budian into her arms with a hint of pride. "Yes, that's right. With me, big sister can go anywhere she wants." The little guy excitedly nodded his little head. "Grape, Lotus Seed, you've served me for so long, so I won't make things difficult for you. Before I leave, I'll knock you out so that you won't be implicated. However, don't try to stop me from leaving. I don't want to stay here any longer." Lung Ruoxue looked at the two maidservants and deliberately made her words very clear. Miss, we know that we can't stop you. However, the divine realm is very dangerous. It's not suitable for you to walk in the divine realm with your current strength. Lotus Seed said in a very reserved manner. In fact, she was very reluctant to let Lung Ruoxue leave. However, she knew very well that Lung Ruoxue had made up her mind to tell them this. Furthermore, the young miss had thought about it very thoroughly. However, she still felt very uncomfortable in her heart. Miss, you want to abandon us? Grape was an impetuous person, and he was more direct than Lotus Seed. Ugh. Grape's words made Lung Ruoxue's forehead fill with black lines. What did she mean by wanting to abandon them? They were not her maidservants to begin with, all right? How did leaving them in the Een family become abandoning them? I never thought of abandoning you, Lung Ruoxue said helplessly as she looked at Grape, who had a serious and resentful expression on her face. Miss wants to leave this place, but she wants us to stay. If she isn't abandoning us, what is she? Grape complained. You're from the Een clan. I can't possibly kidnap you all. Of course, you have to stay. Lung Ruoxue wiped away the cold sweat on her forehead as she reminded him. Why can't you take us away together, miss? I'm going to leave with you. You're not familiar with the divine realm, so I can protect you if we meet any bad guys. After all, I'm a deity. Grape said very seriously. All right. You're stronger than me now. However, if I really encounter a bad person, I'm afraid you won't be able to protect me. Lung Ruoxue could not help but remind him. There's strength in numbers. Moreover, I don't dare to say that I'm very familiar with the divine world, but I can still be a guide for young lady. There are many dangerous places in the divine world that you can't go to, at least with young Lada's current strength. Grape said very responsibly, Miss, I also want to leave with you. From now on, we're your people. Upon hearing Grape's words, Lotus Seed hurriedly added, as if she was afraid that Lung Ruoxue would abandon her. Previously, she did not dare to make such a request because she was afraid that Lung Ruoxue would reject her. Now that Grape had already brought it up, she naturally did not want to be left behind. In reality, ever since Lung Ruoxue had saved them the last time, they had already given up on her. However, due to their status, they did not dare to say these words out loud. However, now that the young miss had decided to leave, if they did not say these words now, they might not have the chance anymore. Miss, Lotus Seed and I are willing to be loyal to you forever and serve you for the rest of our lives. Grape and Lotus Seed looked at each other. Then, the two of them knelt down in tacit understanding and issued a loyalty contract. With this, Lung Ruoxue could not refuse even if she wanted to. Lung Ruoxue looked at the two of them and sighed softly before saying, Since you're willing to follow me, then the Een family will have nothing to do with you in the future. Don't worry, miss. Lotus Seed and I are both orphans. Our parents have passed away a long time ago, and we don't have any relatives in the Een family. We will never betray young lady. Grape understood Lung Ruoxue's words and quickly promised. You've already issued the loyalty contract, so I naturally believe you. In the future, don't just kneel down in front of me. I don't like this subordinate. Lung Ruoxue chuckled. She didn't expect that before leaving the Een family, she would be able to abduct 2 maidservants from the Een family. This would be the interest that the old man gave her. As for the emotional damage, he would settle it with the old man in the future. Yes. Upon hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, Grape and Lotus Seed quickly stood up. The two of you, go and pack your things. We'll leave immediately. Lung Ruoxue continued. Miss, we don't have much to pack. The two of them quickly said. Then let's go now. Little guy, I'm counting on you. Take us to a good place. Lung Ruoxue instructed. She was extremely excited. She was finally leaving this place, and no longer had to be a canary. Yes, yes. Xiao Budian nodded his little head vigorously. Following that, he used a white light to envelop Lung Ruoxue and the other two within it. The eye-piercing white light caused the three of them to close their eyes involuntarily. When they opened their eyes again, the three of them and the beast had already left the Een clan. Grape and Lotus Seed looked at the scene in front of them in disbelief. They never thought that in the blink of an eye, they would leave the Een family's main residence. This was truly too inconceivable. They never thought that the little guy would actually have such abilities. No wonder the young miss wanted to find him. Now, they finally understood why the young miss had asked for the little guy's whereabouts the moment she opened her eyes when she first arrived at the Een family. Chapter 1444. Meeting the Ning family. 2. Miss, have we really left the Een family? Lotus Seed felt as if everything was a dream. It was so unreal. Before this, she was still thinking about how to bring Lung Ruoxue through the Een family's many obstacles. I didn't expect him to leave so easily. This made her a little uncomfortable. But where was this? Grape, who felt that she had some understanding of the divine world, also had the same doubts. Looking around, the 3 humans and 1 beast were in the middle of a tall mountain. Moreover, this mountain was a bare mountain, although the trees on the mountain were tall and straight. Many of them had already withered. Not far away, the grass that was half the height of a person made people have no desire to go in and explore. This place was really too desolate. Where's this place? Lung Ruoxue looked at the overgrown grass in front of her, and her expression turned uglier. She clearly wanted Xiao Budian to find a good place, but where did Xiao Budian take them? A barren mountain or a barren forest? Other than the 3 of them and the beast, there probably wasn't even a single insect to be found. She couldn't help but complain. Miss, I don't know this place either. Grape said, a little embarrassed. It doesn't matter. We should be out of the Een residence by now, but we have to find a way out of here. Lung Ruoxue consoled. At this moment, Xiao Budian, who knew that he was brought to the wrong place, buried his head into Lung Ruoxue's arms without saying a word and did not dare to make a sound. Lung Ruoxue's beautiful eyes scanned the surrounding environment, trying to find a way out. However, all she could see was grass that was half the height of a human. The only way they could leave was to create a path for themselves. Miss, let the little guy take us out of here. Doesn't it know how to teleport? Grape suggested. I can't take you guys out of here anymore. I'm still young, and I've traveled a long distance this time, so I don't have any strength left. When the little guy heard Grape's words, he raised his little head and explained. Whoa, he was so tired right now. This time's transmigration had consumed all of its physical strength. It was a pity for its small body. It was really exhausted. Why were you so energetic when you were on the godly mainland? Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but ask. Back then, Xiao Budian would always appear and disappear like a ghost. He would appear wherever he wanted to go, and they couldn't guard against him. That's different. As long as it's not a long-distance travel, it won't consume much of my energy. However, this is probably the longest distance I've traveled since I was born. I'm really exhausted. The little guy pitifully said. How long will it take for you to recover? Lung Ruoxue asked again. At least half a month. The little guy thought for a bit and said. It seems like we'll have to stay here for half a month. Lung Ruoxue said helplessly. Without Xiao Budian's help, it wouldn't be easy for them to leave this place. In addition, most of her spiritual beasts were in closed-door cultivation. Therefore, even if she wanted to use her flying beast to fly away from this place, there was no way. However, since she was already here, she should just take things as they were. This godforsaken place could just be considered a part of her life in the god world. Miss, then let's set up the tent first. Upon hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, Grape also became more at ease. Yes. Lung Ruoxue nodded and watched as Grape and Lotus Seed set up their tents. She found a place to start a fire. Their current location should be at the highest point of a mountain or forest. In addition to the fact that the sky was getting dark, it had become unusually cold. Miss, we'll do the hard work. The tent has been set up, so you can go and rest. After Grape and Lotus Seed had finished setting up their tents, they saw Lung Ruoxue preparing food and quickly said, I'm not as delicate as you think. Besides, it's not hard work. Cooking is a rare pleasure. Lung Ruoxue chuckled. But with us here, how can we let young Miss do this? Could it be that young Miss dislikes the food we make? Grape pursed her lips on purpose and said in a slightly dissatisfied tone, I'm scared of you. You guys do it, okay? Lung Rawashua said helplessly. During this period of time, these two maidservants' cooking skills had gotten better and better under her training. Therefore, they always wanted to rush to cook. After they were done, they would look at her with eager eyes and wait for her praise. She really didn't know whether to laugh or cry at their childish behavior. This is our job to begin with. Miss, you can't snatch it from us. The grape still acted like a good girl after getting a bargain, and her beautiful face even revealed a fox-like smile. All right, then it'll just be a hands-off shopkeeper. Lung Rawashua sighed softly. Having two hard-working maidservants was both a good and bad thing. The good thing was that these two maidservants would take the initiative to do what they saw without her instructions. However, this way, she had nothing to do. Yes, Grape and Lotus Seed nodded happily. After the three of them had dinner, they returned to their tents to rest. In the next few days, Lung Rawashua and the other two wandered around the area where the tent was set up. They gradually found out where they were. The place they were standing on was indeed a very magnificent mountain, but this mountain had been abandoned for a long time. Looking at the dense weeds, it was clear that no one had come here for a long time. After clearing the weeds behind them, they looked down and saw a vast blue sea. They were at the top of the mountain, and if they accidentally fell, they would be buried in the stomachs of the fish. The three of them spent a few days investigating the terrain. They then obediently stayed in the campsite and waited for Xiao Budian to recover his strength. At this moment, Xiao Budian had already been sent into the bracelet by Lung Rawashua and was absorbing the spiritual energy within the bracelet to his heart's content. Miss, the little guy has been resting for 10 days, right? Grape said as he sat in front of the tent and counted the days. Yes, why? Are you anxious? Lung Rawashua asked in amusement. Yup, I don't even see an insect here. I don't know what I'm doing every day. Grape sighed. As soon as she finished speaking, there was a sudden commotion in the grass. The three of them immediately turned their attention to it and became alert. Grape and Lotus Seed subconsciously shielded Lung Rawashua behind them and watched every movement in the underbrush without taking their eyes off it. Chapter 1445, Meeting the Ning Family, 3. After a while, a group walked out from the grass. The leader was a man with a full beard. His age could not be seen, and he was tall. There were more than 10 people following behind him. There were both men and women, and their bodies were covered in a travel-worn aura. It was obvious that this was a group on an expedition. When those people saw Lung Rawashua's group of 3, they were rather surprised. They did not expect to see anyone else in this barren mountain, and they were 3 beautiful women. For a moment, both sides were stunned. Who are you people? Grape asked loudly, her beautiful face still full of vigilance. We should be the ones asking that. Who are you? Where did he come from? At this time, a woman in the other party's team also asked in a very dissatisfied tone. We were the ones who came here first, okay? Grape rolled his eyes and could not help but remind him. This woman was really too annoying. She was comparable to some of the annoying direct relatives in the big families. He just did not know which family this person was from and whether she had such a big background. So what? We've been here for almost a month, and we haven't seen a single person. There must be something wrong with you guys suddenly appearing here. The woman said disapprovingly. Miss, we were doing well here. It's you who suddenly appeared, okay? Grape was so speechless that he wanted to laugh at this woman's unreasonable behavior. This should be what the young miss always said about how big the world was and how there were all kinds of strange things. Grape, don't quarrel with her. Philip, you shut up. Lung Rawashua and the man with the full beard spoke at the same time. After he finished speaking, the man even took a special look at Lung Rawashua. After taking a look, he was rather surprised. This woman was beautiful, but her cultivation was so low. She's only a mid-level deity, and she actually dares to walk around in the divine world. Could it be that she's not afraid of being robbed by some lecherous person? Based on her cultivation level and the fact that she lived in the god world, the man concluded that Lung Ruashua must have come from a powerful family. Otherwise, it would be difficult for deities below the deity realm to survive in the god world. However, strength spoke for itself in the divinity. This woman was so beautiful and her strength was so low. He wouldn't be surprised if she was robbed. Furthermore, there were many powerful clans in the divinity. Even if this woman's clan was extremely powerful, if she was really robbed, it would be a long story. Besides, he was more curious about why Lung Ruashua and the other two would appear here. It was obvious that the three of them had a master-servant relationship. Hence, the man bowed slightly to Lung Ruashua and said, "I'm Ning Hai. Please forgive me for being so presumptuous." The presumptuous he was referring to was his sudden appearance here with his team, which had given the three of them a shock. In his eyes, they were all women, so it was normal for them to be afraid. "It's all right, Lung Ruashua. I wonder if Big Brother Ning has any relationship with the Ning family of the 8 Great Divine Regions?" Lung Ruashua didn't expect this bearded man to have the surname Ning, so she couldn't help but ask curiously. "Our captain is naturally from the Ning family," the woman named Fei Li said proudly. However, her eyes were filled with disdain for Lung Ruashua. "Brother Ning? Oomph." He clearly knew the captain's identity and wanted to get close to him. With her around, this woman could forget about getting her way. "Hee. Although I'm a member of the Ning family, am not a direct descendant of the Ning family, and I don't have much status in the Ning family, so don't keep any distance from me," Ning Hai said with a little embarrassment. He was very clear about the status of the Ning family in the divine world, and the friends he knew, after knowing that he was a member of the Ning family, there would only be 2 kinds of reactions. One was to try their best to curry favor with him, and the other was to distance themselves from him unconsciously. This made him quite conflicted in his heart. Awanti, she had a good impression of this tall man. Furthermore, he was a member of the Ning family. She felt a sense of familiarity to be able to meet Godfathers Jr. in the wilderness. Furthermore, this man was already a divine lord, yet he kept saying that he had no status in the family. It seemed like Godfathers Jr. was full of talents. No wonder he could become the leader of the 8 Great Divine Regions. "Little Sister Ruashua, why are the 3 of you here?" Ning Hai was also very curious, but he wouldn't question her as aggressively as Philip. Besides, since the woman in front of him had called him Brother Ning, there was nothing wrong with him calling her Sister Ruashua. "Our flying beast was injured, so after dropping us here, it went into the beast space to heal. To be honest, we don't know where this is, but without the flying beast, we can't leave, so we can only stay here temporarily." Lung Ruashua furrowed her brows and pretended to be conflicted. When Grape and Lotus Seed heard Lung Ruashua's words, they could not help but snicker in their hearts. Miss really didn't even need to draft a draft when she told lies. Moreover, the depressed expression on Miss' face made it hard for people not to believe it. "So that's how it is. Little Sister Ruashua. Actually, we don't know where we are either. We also came here by accident. Since your flying beast is injured, then come with us. Moreover, with your current strength, you're really not suited to walk in the divine realm. If you encounter a lecherous person, he'll definitely snatch you back." At that time, even if someone wants to save you, it'll be too late. Ning Hai said worriedly. "Thank you, Brother Ning. Actually, you're right. I was indeed robbed, and it took me a lot of trouble to escape." Lung Ruashua said with a face of hidden bitterness. "It's a good thing you escaped. Otherwise, your innocence would have been ruined," Ning Hai said with fear. Listening to their conversation, Grape and Lianz's foreheads were filled with black lines, and they couldn't help but feel disgusted in their hearts. The person that young Miss said snatched her away. Could it be the old ancestor of the Een family? Poor old ancestor. This time, your reputation is at stake. The time they had spent with Lung Ruashua could not be considered short. The 2 of them were already very clear about the reason why Lung Ruashua had come to the God world. However, they did not think that the old ancestor had brought the young Miss to the God world because he was lecherous. They believed that the old ancestor had other plans. However, as members of the Een clan and Lung Ruakshu subordinates, they would not speak of such things without any evidence. Yes, Big Brother Ning, they'll have to trouble you for the time being. After Lung Ruashue found out that he was from the Ning family, she decided to go with them. Who asked her to be in Godfather's territory? If he didn't look for his godfather, who else could he look for? To put it bluntly, she couldn't find anyone else, and there happened to be a Ning family member in front of her. In addition, she had a good impression of this Ning family member, so she wanted to hitch a ride from him to the Ning family. It's no trouble at all. We're planning to leave this place tomorrow, so we'll bring you along. Ning Hai looked at Lung Ruakshu's fragile appearance and couldn't help but feel tender love in his heart. Captain, how could he bring them along? They'll only drag us down. When Philip heard that Ning Hai was really going to bring Lung Ruashue and the other two along, he was filled with jealousy and immediately objected. You don't need to care about them. They'll take care of them, okay? Ning Hai said helplessly. He thought that Philip was not willing to take care of Lung Ruashue and the other two, so he directly took on this task. Little did he know that his words had made Philip even angrier. We will take care of our young miss. We won't trouble you. Grape saw Philip's hateful look and quickly said, You said it yourself. You should know that we are a team of adventurers. It's common for us to encounter danger. Don't drag us down when the time comes, and don't expect us to have the chance to save you. Philip warned. She knew very well that once the captain had decided on something, he would not change his mind easily. Therefore, no matter how dissatisfied she was, she had no way of convincing the captain not to bring them along. However, as long as they did not have the captain's protection, it was impossible for the three of them to travel with them unscathed with their strength. She could not help but think to herself smugly, Philip, what are you saying? Since I've agreed to bring them along, they will be a part of our team in the future. If they really encounter any danger, how can we just stand by and watch? However, it's up to you whether you want to help or not. I can't force you, but I definitely want you to stand by and watch them encounter danger. Ning Hai frowned, obviously not agreeing with Philip's words. Captain, I didn't mean it that way. I just hope that they can understand the dangers of traveling with us. We can't just be your bodyguards forever. Most of the time, they still have to rely on themselves. Seeing that Ning Hai was angry, Philip quickly explained. But we can't just leave him to die. Ning Hai was a little annoyed. Big Brother Ning, you don't have to feel embarrassed, and you can also rest assured about this, Miss Philip. Although we will be traveling together, if we really encounter danger, I don't need any of your help. We can handle it. She was very touched by Ning Hai's protection, but she didn't want to cause an internal conflict in the team because of her and the others. She could see that Ning Hai cared a lot about the unity of the team, and she was just a passerby. Little sister Ruashue, since you call me Big Brother, you are my biological little sister. As your big brother, how can I watch you all be in danger and not help? Then am I still a human? When Ning Hai heard Lung Ruakshu's words, he was both pleased and angry. Big Brother Ning, I have the ability to protect myself, and am not as weak as you think. You should believe me. Lung Ruashue said with a smile. Little sister Ruashue, I don't care if you have the ability to protect yourself. Since I'm bringing you along, I must ensure your safety. So, there's no need to say anything else. Just listen to me when the time comes. Ning Hai said with a domineering face. After hearing Ning Hai's words, Lung Ruashue only smiled and didn't say anything. Philip saw that Ning Hai was really angry, so he naturally shut his mouth. After a peaceful night, Lung Ruashue and the rest had their breakfast the next morning. They packed their things and prepared to leave. Ning Hai's flying beast was an extremely huge gray eagle. That eagle had the strength of a 6th-level sacred beast. It had an arrogant expression on its face. Other than Ning Hai, who was its master, it did not care about anyone else. However, when it saw Lung Ruashue, it showed an extremely solicitous expression. Chapter 1446. The Missing Philip 1. When Lung Ruashue was about to sit on the gray eagle's back, It obediently half-squatted down so that Lung Ruashue could sit on its back. However, when others wanted to sit on it as well, they were not given the same treatment. Seeing this, Philip was furious. "Damned perverted bird, you're really looking for death." Philip mumbled softly and even took the opportunity to kick the gray eagle. However, the gray eagle did not seem to care and continued to look forward. "It's not bird color. It's just that your character isn't good, and even a bird isn't willing to give you a ride." Grape, who was the closest to Philip, said. Although Philip's voice was very soft, she still heard every single word. "What does it have to do with you? Your master must have seduced this perverted eagle." Philip shouted in a rather unreasonable manner. Her words caused her companions to secretly shake their heads and reveal disapproving expressions. One had to know that this eagle belonged to their team leader, and now Philip actually wanted to vent her anger on the team leader's beloved pet. It was only because the team leader had a good temper that he could tolerate her. If it were anyone else, they would have kicked her out of the team. People who can't recognize reality are really sad. My family's young miss is a good character, and even Beastie is very friendly to her. Unlike you. You can't even handle a bird. Grape's face was full of contempt. "What did you just say?" Philip was infuriated as he loudly questioned. "Stop arguing." "Philip, do you still want to leave?" Ning Hai was a little speechless. This Philip was getting more and more out of hand. He didn't even let them stop before they set off. Of course, seeing Ning Hai's face turn ugly, Philip quickly acted like a little wife and said, "Then hurry up and come up." Ning Hai said coldly. "Oh." Feeling depressed, Philip quickly jumped onto the back of the giant gray eagle. "Let's go." Ning Hai patted the gray eagle's head and said, "Yes, master." The gray eagle nodded, then flapped its wings and flew into the sky. Lung Ruashue and the rest flew in the sky for 2 days and nothing happened. However, on the 3rd day, they were caught in the turbulence in the sky. Philip was unable to control his balance and fell from the sky. When they finally stabilized themselves and landed on the ground to look for Philip, he had long disappeared. "Captain, I didn't find Philip." The teams that Ning Hai had sent out to search for Fei Li had returned one by one. However, they could not find Fei Li's whereabouts. When the giant gray eagle that was lying beside them heard the news, it actually revealed a half-smile, which was caught by Lung Ruashue. Lung Ruashue walked to the gray eagle's side and stroked its soft feathers. She said softly, "It couldn't have been your doing, right?" When the turbulence occurred in the air, the eagle's body began to shake violently. However, the others did not fall from its back, but Philip did. Philip had offended this eagle before. It seemed that this eagle was also a vengeful guy. She laughed in her heart. "Am not," the gray eagle whispered. Its big, black eyes were wet as it peeked at Lung Ruashue shyly. Its face was full of grievance. "It doesn't matter if it's you, you did well," Lung Ruashue praised. She liked Beastie who would take revenge for its enemies. "If Master knew about this, he would scold me." The gray giant eagle rubbed its furry head against Lung Ruashue as it spoke in a coquettish manner. "I have a way to make him not blame you, but instead stand on your side. However, you have to tell me where that Philip is first." Lung Ruashue chuckled. The Eagle clan's vision was one of the best among the beasts. When the turbulence struck earlier, they might not have been able to see the exact location where Philip had fallen. However, they could not hide it from this eagle. Although they could not be sure if it really knew, the location that it knew was definitely more accurate than theirs. She should be hanging on a tree a kilometer away. I was going to let her hang for 2 more days. The gray giant eagle leaned its head into Lung Ruakshu's embrace and spoke in a voice that only they could hear. When that hateful woman fell down, it had already locked onto her position. However, it did not reveal its evil intentions. Then let her hang there for 2 more days, as long as her life is not in danger. Lung Ruashue said with a smile. She won't die. She'll just be hungry for a few days." The gray eagle said with regret. You're pretty cute." When Lung Ruashue heard Gray Eagle's words, she could not help but chuckle. "Ruashue, what are you guys talking about?" Seeing Lung Ruashue and his beastie chatting happily, Ning Hai couldn't help but walk over and ask, when did his beastie's relationship with Lung Ruoxue become so good? It was simply too unbelievable. One must know that his beastie would only show him some respect. He had always been disdainful towards others. However, he was different towards Lung Ruoxue. How could he not be surprised? It's nothing. Big brother Ning, your beastie is quite cute. Lung Ruoxue laughed. Hee hee, only you would say it's cute. However, it really treats you differently from other people. Ning Hai said with deep feelings. I have affinity with beasts, but I don't have affinity with women. Most of the women see me as if I'm their enemy. Big brother Ning, you still haven't found Philip? Lung Ruoxue asked despite knowing the answer. No, I didn't. He did not know how Philip was now, whether he was dead or alive. AI. Ning Hai couldn't help but sigh. Don't worry, big brother Ning. We'll find it. Why don't we stay here for a few more days and look for it? Lung Ruoxue said as she looked at the surrounding terrain. The place that Gray Eagle had chosen was quite suitable to be used as a campsite. It was big and spacious enough, and there were not many pedestrians on the nearby roads. That's the only way, Ning Hai said helplessly. After searching for almost a day, everyone felt a little tired. After dinner, they went to bed early. In the tent, Grape looked at Lung Ruoxue with a face full of curiosity. He wanted to say something, but stopped himself. Grape, what do you want to say? Lung Ruoxue looked at Grape's expression and asked in amusement. Miss, what did you talk about with the Gray Eagle this afternoon? Grape was very curious. However, at that time, she and Lotus Seed were quite far away, and Miss and the Eagle had deliberately lowered their voices, so they did not know what the man and the Eagle were talking about. The only thing they saw was that the Eagle was taking advantage of her Miss. Chapter 1447. The Missing Philip too. Haha. I'm trying to get some information from that Eagle. Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. Does it know where Philip is? Grape's eyes were wide open as he said in disbelief. What a petty Eagle. Just because Philip had scolded it earlier, it knew Philip's whereabouts, but refused to tell him. Hee hee. This Eagle is really cute. She liked it. Philip should be hanging on a tree right now. Lung Ruoxue laughed evilly. Miss, you're not allowed to be kind enough to reveal Philip's whereabouts. Without that woman, we can still rest for a while. Grape reminded him with a serious face. Grape, you really don't understand me. Do you think I'm that kind of person? Lung Ruoxue pretended to be unhappy. Hee hee. Miss, I'm just reminding you. After all, we're with Ning Hai now. I'm afraid you'll tell him about Philip's whereabouts for his sake. Grape told the truth, and secretly decided to add more food for the Great Eagle tomorrow. I'm not that kind. Not to mention that Big Brother Ning and Philip don't have any relationship. Even if they do, I won't easily tell him Philip's whereabouts. Lung Ruoxue said indifferently. Miss, you mean you'll tell Ning Hai about this? Grape asked in a low voice. I'll definitely tell him, but I'll have to be careful with the method. Lung Ruoxue laughed evilly. Hee hee. Miss, don't tell Ning Hai too early. Grape suggested. Don't worry. They'll have Philip and that tree get closer. After Lung Ruoxue promised. After receiving her assurance, Grape and Lotus Seed had a good night's sleep, their faces filled with excitement. The next morning, the three of them walked out of the tent feeling refreshed. However, they felt an unfriendly gaze on them. Ruoxue, come and have breakfast. When Ning Hai saw Lung Ruoxue and the other two, he quickly greeted them. Thank you, Big Brother Ning. Lung Ruoxue did not stand on ceremony at all. She brought the grapes and lotus seeds and found a place to sit down. I didn't bring you breakfast. If you want to eat it, go get it yourself. At this moment, a woman who looked similar to Philip said angrily. The woman who spoke was Philip's younger sister, Faye. Although they did not have a good relationship, after Philip's disappearance, all the people in their team had gone out to look for him. They were exhausted every day, while the three women stayed in the camp comfortably. This made her very unhappy. They were all women, so why did they enjoy such treatment while she had to go out and work hard to find him? This made her extremely unbalanced. Not only that, she had to get up early every day to prepare food with her companions. But the three women in front of her were like young ladies from rich families, only waiting to eat. How could there be such a good thing in the world? The accumulated resentment finally exploded when everyone was about to eat breakfast. Fey, what are you talking about? Hearing Fei yes words, Ninghai was furious. Fei was usually an obedient girl. Why did she become like Philip after he went missing? Was her gentleness and obedience all an act? Ninghai couldn't help but wonder. Captain, I'm telling the truth. Why do we have to work so hard to find them while these three women can stay in the camp comfortably? We're already very tired and have to prepare 3 meals, but they don't have to do anything but wait for food. Is this fair to us? Fei shouted angrily. What's wrong? You're not even willing to look for your own sister? Big Brother Ning didn't arrange for us to look for them because we're too weak. If we run into danger while we're looking for them, can you save us? Lung Ruoshu asked with a cold smile. Why wouldn't I be willing to go out and look for my sister? I just saw that you guys were too free, so I couldn't help but say it. Besides, even if you're weak and can't go out to find people, you can at least cook for us. Fey argued. In fact, she really did not want to go out and look for someone so hard. Since she was born, she had been living in her sister's shadow. Philip was better than her in every aspect, and the reason why the captain was willing to let her join the team was also because of Philip. Therefore, although she appeared to respect her sister very much on the surface, she was very disdainful of this sister who was only a superficial person. You want my young miss to cook for you? Are you worthy? Let me tell you, not only will we not help you find that sister of yours, Philip, but we will also not cook for you. As for the food that you have prepared, if you don't want us to eat it, then we won't eat it. It's no big deal. Grape roared angrily. Although the young miss was not a true member of the Een family, she was still the third elder acknowledged by the family head. She wouldn't be happy if a noble lady were to cook for them every day. Besides, there were quite a number of these people who looked down on them. There was no way they would cook for someone who hated them. Miss, please wait a moment. I'll go make breakfast. Grape turned to Lung Ruoshue and said gently, Yes. Lung Ruoshue nodded. Ruoshue, don't let the grapes do it. They'll bring your share. Hearing Grape's words, Ninghai quickly stopped her, his face still full of an apologetic expression. It's okay, Brother Ning. I'm already very grateful that you're willing to take us with you. How can I let you worry about our 3 meals? Also, don't cause disharmony in your team because of the 3 of us, or you'll be a sinner. Lung Ruoshue reminded him nonchalantly. To be honest, although she couldn't say that every meal with them was dry, it was almost enough. Although she didn't really want to eat it when Ninghai gave it to her, she was too embarrassed to reject Ninghai's enthusiasm, so she could only force herself to eat it. If she could use this opportunity to separate her food from theirs, it might not be a bad thing. Ruoshue, hearing Lung Ruokshu's understanding words, Ninghai didn't know what to say. He felt guilty. He wanted to take good care of this delicate little sister, but unfortunately, some people in the team, Big Brother Ning, it's okay. Lung Ruoshue said with a smile, but in her heart, she apologized to Ninghai. Chapter 1448. The Missing Philip 3. Big Brother Ning, hurry up and eat your breakfast. Don't we still have to go find Philip after dinner? Lung Ruoshue saw that the atmosphere was a little heavy and no one dared to move their chopsticks, so she smiled and urged them on. Hey, everyone, let's have breakfast. Ninghai sighed and said helplessly. While they were eating, Lung Ruoshue went to the side of the gray eagle that was lying under the tree and sat down. Seeing the gray eagle gnawing on the dried food, Lung Ruoshue took out a piece of dried meat from her bracelet and placed it in front of the gray eagle's mouth. The gray eagle sniffed and gobbled up the dried meat. After it finished eating, it looked at Lung Ruoshue expectantly. Its pitiful look made her laugh. Following that, Lung Ruoshue took out another piece of dried meat and sent it to the gray eagle's mouth. The gray eagle opened its mouth and swallowed it immediately. After it finished eating, it even rubbed against Lung Ruakshu's arm enthusiastically. At this moment, Grape walked over and said, "Miss, breakfast is ready. I've also prepared your share." Grape touched the gray eagle's head and said. After the gray eagle heard Grape's words, he looked at Grape with a glimmer of anticipation in his eyes. However, when Grape and Lotus placed the breakfast that they had prepared in front of her, Lung Ruashu was a little speechless. These two petty girls were clearly doing it on purpose. Seeing that others had made some porridge, they also made porridge, and they made more than one kind. On top of that, they also made a variety of side dishes. This breakfast was so rich that she had nothing to say. With a smug look on his face, he filled a bowl of grapes for Lung Ruashue and Huiying, then specially sent some to Ninghai. After that, he sat down with Lotus Seed and started eating breakfast. After breakfast, Lung Ruashue and the others, as well as Huiying, watched as Ninghai and the others went out to look for Fei Li. At first, Fei Yi wanted Huiying to go out and help them find Fei Li, but Ninghai was afraid that Lung Ruashue and the other two would meet with bad people, so he stubbornly asked Huiying to stay. His actions made Fei Yi hate Lung Ruashue and the others even more. "Little Gray, don't worry. As long as we're here, we'll take care of your 3 meals. We won't let you eat dry food." After seeing Ninghai and the others leave, Grape patted the gray eagle's head and promised, "My name is Huiyao. Don't call me Xiao Hui. It's too lacking in aura." The gray eagle complained. "Hee hee. Little Gray is our pet name for you," Grape said with a smile. "AI. All right then." Huiyao accepted his fate, who asked them to be his livelihood for the next few days. The food they made was really delicious. For the sake of the food, he would allow them to call him that. "Hee hee. That a good girl. That's right." "Can you see how that Philip is doing? Are you still alive?" Grape's face was full of curiosity. "Yes, he's still alive. He's just a little haggard." Huiyao nodded and said, "That distance may be difficult for humans, but it was not difficult for it. He's still alive. It's such a pity." Grape's face was full of disappointment. "Silly girl, that woman can't die. Otherwise, Brother Ning will definitely feel guilty." Lung Ruashue smiled as she reminded him, "It's none of his business, so why should he feel guilty?" Grape did not understand. "My master is a very responsible man. He values everyone in the team, even though he knows that some people are just using him." Huiyao lowered his head and said gloomily, "Don't worry. Good people will be rewarded. Although some people are ungrateful, Brother Ning will definitely be rewarded." Lung Ruashue smiled as she consoled him. "I hope so." Huiyao was a little dejected. After searching for a few days, Ninghai and the others went out early and returned late every day, but they still couldn't find Philip. However, he still felt warm in his heart when he came back every day to eat the hot food prepared by Lung Ruashue and the others. However, Lung Ruashue and the other two only prepared food for those who were close to them, which made him quite helpless. However, he had no reason to ask them to prepare food for all of them, so he could only apologize to some people. Seeing Ninghai and the others gobbling down the food, Lung Ruakshu's forehead unconsciously dripped with cold sweat. How long had it been since they last ate? "You can't be this hungry, right? Big Brother Ning. You guys eat slowly, there's still a lot more." Lung Ruashue was afraid that they would choke, so she quickly reminded them. "I know. Ruashue, the cooking skills of your 2 maidservants are really good. It's really worth it to be able to eat such a meal while traveling outside." Ninghai sighed. Big Brother Ning, do you have to make it sound so pitiful?" Lung Ruashue asked, feeling a little speechless. "Ruashue, I can tell that this is your first time leaving home. It's not easy for adults like us who have gone out to gain experience to eat a hot meal, let alone so many delicious dishes." Ninghai said pitifully, "Yup, most of the time, we can only eat dry food. Sometimes, we can have meat to eat," a man who was eating happily said with tears in his eyes. Hearing how pitiful they sounded, Lung Ruashue was too embarrassed to provoke them and could only change the topic. "Big Brother Ning, Don't you have any leads on Philip? Where are you? Lung Ruoshua asked calmly. Yeah, don't even mention it. We've searched the entire 100-li radius, but we can't find a trace of Philip. Ninghai said gloomily. Could have been eaten by some beastie? Grape interrupted with a smirk. It can't be. Ninghai listened to Grape's words and started to think very seriously. Big brother Ning, don't worry. No beastie will eat her. Lung Ruoshua said with a smile. I thought so too. Ninghai said seriously. However, as soon as he said this, everyone couldn't help but laugh. Ninghai scratched his head in embarrassment. He knew why everyone was laughing. Thinking of the meaning of his words, even he couldn't help laughing. Big brother Ning, have you searched all the places? Lung Ruoshua asked again when she saw that her question had been diverted. We've searched all the places we can. Ninghai frowned. Are there any mountains or forests nearby? If she fell there, it would not be easy to find her. Lung Ruoshua reminded. There are no mountains or forests here, but there are quite a few trees. Ninghai thought for a while and said, You didn't look up the tree? Lung Ruoxu's face was filled with question marks. On the tree? You're saying that she might have fallen into a tree, and that's why we didn't notice? Ninghai said with a look of realization. I'm not saying that she might have fallen into a tree. I just feel that a living person can't just disappear for no reason, right? Even though we don't know if she's dead or alive. Lung Ruoshua chuckled. Ruoxu's words make sense. Now that I think about it, those trees are quite tall. If there's really someone hiding up there, it won't be easy for them to discover. Ninghai said after thinking for a while. Captain, since we only haven't searched the trees, let's look up the trees tomorrow. If he still doesn't have it, then there's nothing we can do. After all, we've tried our best after searching for so many days. A young man said after some thought. Then let's search for another day tomorrow. If we still can't find it, let's leave. Ninghai said unhappily. Although Philip was not very popular in the team, he was still one of them. Unless he was forced to, he was not willing to give up. And a few of them nodded. After dinner, they immediately returned to their tents to rest. The next day, Ninghai left the camp early with his men. However, before noon, everyone came back together. Naturally, Philip, who had been missing for many days, followed them. She saw that Philip was in a sorry state. The clothes on his body had become wrinkled, and he looked extremely haggard. If it wasn't for the fire in his eyes that proved that he was in a good state, Lung Ruoshua would have thought that this woman had learned her lesson. Now, it seemed that Philip was not going to stop. Sure enough, just as Lung Ruoxu's thoughts formed in her heart, Philip rushed to Hui Ao with a face full of anger. He waved his fist, wanting to hit Hui Ao, but Ninghai grabbed her hand. What are you doing? Ninghai said unhappily. If it wasn't for the fact that Fei Li had suffered a lot these days, he wouldn't have let her off just because she wanted to beat up Hui Ao. It should be known that Hui Ao was his most important companion and relative. Hui Ao's position in his heart was even more important than his teammates. Therefore, he would rather Philip vent his dissatisfaction on him than let her touch a single feather on Hui Ao. Captain, it's all this stinky bird's fault that I fell down. Don't stop me. I'm going to get my revenge today. Philip roared in anger. Master, let her hit me. Although I didn't want to encounter turbulence, it was indeed my fault that I didn't let her sit properly. Hui Ao raised his head, tears rolling down his bright black eyes. The expression on his face was pitiful, and everyone could not bear to see it. No, Philip, if you want to vent your anger, you can hit me. I won't allow you to touch Hui Ao. After hearing Hui Ao's words, Ninghai was also furious. Fuck, this clearly had nothing to do with Hui Ao, so why should Hui Ao be the one being wronged? Since the other party had blamed his own beastie for his fall, then, as the master, he should suffer for Hui Ao. Big brother Ning, the turbulence was an accident. It cannot be blamed on Hui Ao at all. Moreover, Hui Ao was also trying hard to control his balance at that time. You see, we were all fine. Why is she the only one who fell? Lung Ruoshua smiled as she voiced her doubts. It was obvious that she did not hold on firmly and fell down, yet you still blame it on Huiao. I'm telling you, don't think that you can bully Huiao just because he's a beastie. I'm here. Don't even think about hitting it. After hearing Lung Ruakshu's words, Grape immediately stood in front of Huiao like an old hen protecting its chicks and roared. Ew, are you all still being reasonable? I'm a victim here. It was this thing that caused me to fall down. Philip roared in anger. What a joke. At that time, we were all on Huiao's back. Why didn't we fall down? You, who was sitting in the middle of the crowd, fell down. You fell because you didn't hold on tight enough. Grape roared back, unwilling to be outdone. He was even more upset in his heart. Oomph. Is it a competition of volume? Today, they wanted to make Philip suffer in silence. Of course, it would be even better if she could be angered to death. Chapter 1449. Chapter 1449, beating them at their own game. It's not that I didn't grab it properly. It's clearly this damn bird doing it on purpose. Philip said angrily. Damn it. Why didn't anyone believe her? Moreover, seeing that Big Brother Ning seemed to be very angry, she really didn't know what she had done wrong. All right, don't quarrel. Fei Li, this was a complete accident. Although you did not suffer any serious injuries, you were still shocked. I apologize to you on behalf of Huiao. I hope you will not pursue this matter anymore. I can only say sorry. Ning Hai said with a headache. Although he had already expected this to happen when he brought Philip back, the current situation was obviously beyond his expectations, and he had had enough of Philip's ruckus. Therefore, the implication of his words was very obvious. If Philip kept harping on this matter, he would have to ask the sisters to leave the team. Captain, I'm sorry, I was too excited. I won't pursue this matter. Fei Li was a woman who knew how to judge the situation, and she understood what Ning Hai said. However, she would not leave the team easily, and she would not give anyone an excuse to drive her away. Ning Hai was the rich man she had set her eyes on. How could she give him up to another woman? I know you're frightened. I won't blame you. I hope you're on your own, Ning Hai said in a light tone. After that, he comforted the pitiful Huiao and turned to leave. After Ning Hai left, Philip glared at Lung Ruoxue and the other two for a long time before he asked, Why didn't you guys go to look for me? When Lung Ruoxue and the other two heard this, they could not help but laugh. Miss Fei Li, if you haven't woken up from your dream, go and sleep for a while, Lung Ruoxue said with a faint smile. This Fei Li could also be considered a top-grade person. Not to mention that they didn't have any friendship. Even if they did, it would have to be based on their own abilities. Asking her to look for someone was no different from putting herself in danger. Although she had a lot of cards up her sleeve, they were not easy to show. Otherwise, she would definitely cause trouble. What do you mean by this? Philip roared in anger. I mean, we don't have any friendship, Lung Ruoxue said coldly. She wasn't a good person, and she wouldn't risk her life for a woman who didn't like her and was hostile to her. So, not to mention that Big Brother Ning didn't ask her to go out and look for Philip. Even if he did, she wouldn't go. My family's young miss strength is too low. If she were to encounter danger while searching for you, would you be able to take responsibility? How can your life be worth as much as my family's young miss? Grape said arrogantly on purpose, raising her proud head high. You guys, Philip was so angry that he couldn't speak. He could only glare at Lung Ruoxue and the other two with a red face. Sister, don't bother talking to them. They don't know what team spirit is. Fei Yi had once again placed a high hat on Lung Ruoxue and the other two. She couldn't help but reveal a look of disdain. Miss Fei Li, if I remember correctly, you said that when we are in danger, don't count on you to save us. I'll return those words to you now. When you are in danger, we will also not help you. Lung Ruoxue chuckled. However, her words sounded like a joke to the sisters. If there's really danger, ITLL be good enough if you can protect yourself. Who can count on you to save us? This is really too laughable. Why don't you take a look at your own strength? With your strength, I'm afraid you can't even protect yourself on the godly mainland, Philip said with a look of disdain. Miss Fei Li is right. We're indeed weak, but we'll protect ourselves. Miss Philly doesn't need to worry about our safety. After Lung Ruashua finished speaking calmly, she brought grape and lotus seed back to the tent. Hui Ao lowered his head, hiding the flash of disdain in his eyes. Seeing that Hui Ao was not going to pay attention to her at all, the anger in Philip's heart had no way to vent. After giving Hui Ao a hard kick when no one was looking, she turned around and left angrily. Hui Ao looked at the bright footprints on his body, and a smug smile appeared on his face. During dinner, Grape was preparing to deliver food to Hui Ao as usual. However, when she walked to Hui Ao's side, she found that there was already a lot of food beside him. "Little Grayle, where did you get these things?" Grape asked curiously. "It's from that woman." Hui Ao gently lifted his eyelids and said indifferently, "She's that kind." Grape's face was full of doubt. "Definitely not. There's something inside," Hui Ao said with a sneer. When the woman brought the food over, he had already discovered that there was another smell in it. That was why he was hesitating whether to eat it or not. In fact, the Eagle clan not only had good eyesight, but their sense of smell was also top-notch. However, many people were not aware of it. "Then don't eat it. That woman is so evil. She actually used such a dirty trick." Grape growled angrily. "What do you mean you don't want to eat?" At this moment, Lung Ruashua happened to walk over and asked, "Miss, Philip sent food to little Grayle, but he drugged it." Grape immediately complained. "Oh, little Gray, hurry up and eat this food." Lung Ruashua laughed evilly. This was a good opportunity. It must be known that Philip's previous argument was not enough for Brother Ning to drive her out of the team, but the crime of drugging his beloved pet, Brother Ning absolutely could not tolerate it. "All right," he said. After hearing Lung Ruakshu's words, Hui Ao nodded unwillingly. Then, he lowered his head and gobbled up the food that Philip had brought. It was not that the food Philip brought was delicious, but the food was simply too unpalatable. He had no choice but to swallow it in big mouthfuls without even chewing. After finishing the food that Philip brought, Hui Ao's big, wet eyes were still staring at the food in Grape's hand. His meaning was self-evident. Looking at its pitiful appearance, Grape was about to give the food in his hand to Hui Ao, but was stopped by Lung Ruashua. "Little Gray, you can only eat the food from Philip today. If they eat us, then all our efforts will be in vain." Lung Ruashua reminded him with a smile. If Hui Ao ate the food they prepared at the same time, Philip would definitely argue that there was no problem with his food. Naturally, she would not give Philip that chance. Chapter 1450. Chapter 1450, beating them at their own game, too. Yes. Hui Ao nodded his head resentfully. He understood Lung Ruakshu's meaning. However, it did not feel good to only be able to look but not eat. "Grape, leave the food here and let's go back to the tent." Lung Ruashua looked at Hui Ao's expression and laughed. "Miss, didn't you forbid little Grayle from eating our food? Why are you still here?" Grape asked, puzzled. "During this period of time, we have been sending food to little Gray every day. If we don't send it today, it will make people suspicious. But if we leave the food here and something happens to Hui Ao before he can eat it, even if Philip wants to deny it, he can Lung Ruashua chuckled as she explained. "Miss, you're so cunning." Grape's face was full of admiration as he stared at Lung Ruashua with bright eyes. Hearing Grape's words, Lung Ruakshu's forehead was filled with black lines. She thought to herself, "Is Grape complimenting me? Grape, let's go back." Lung Ruashua said as she wiped the cold sweat off her forehead. "Yes, little Gray, you're not allowed to eat it. Otherwise, all our efforts will be in vain." After placing the food next to Hui Ao, Grape worriedly reminded him again. "I know." Hui Ao was very depressed, extremely depressed. However, thinking of the pain it was about to suffer, it endured it. Not long after Lung Ruashua brought the grapes back to the tent, she saw Ning Hai running over with sweat all over his head. He asked while panting, "Ruashua, something happened to Hui Ao." What did you feed it? Big Brother Ning. So what if it was Huiao? We're giving it the same food as usual. Lung Ruoxue played dumb. Huiao seems to have been poisoned and is rolling on the ground in pain. AI, what do we do now? Ning Haitius' brows were knitted together. Of course, he did not believe that Lung Ruoxue and the others would harm Huiao. After all, Huiao got along well with them. However, this place was far from the city. Even if he wanted to find an alchemist to treat Huiao, he would not have the chance. This was because the other people's flying beasts were not fast enough. By the time they found the alchemist, Huiao would be in so much pain that he would die. How did you get poisoned? Lung Ruoxue asked with a puzzled look. Someone said that after you delivered the food to it, Huiao was poisoned. Ning Hai found it difficult to say. Then, he was afraid that Lung Ruoxue would misunderstand him. So he quickly added, no matter what other people say, Big Brother Ning absolutely believes that this matter has nothing to do with you. Big Brother Ning, as long as you believe us, we don't care about what others say. Besides, if I'm not wrong, the person who said that should be Miss Philip. Lung Ruoxue asked with a cold smile. Yes. Ning Hai nodded, his face full of helplessness. Big Brother Ning. Since some people suspect that Huiao's poisoning is related to us, then we should go and clarify it. Moreover, I know a little about alchemy. Let me take a look for Huiao. Lung Ruoxue said indifferently. Ruoxue, you know alchemy? Hearing that Lung Ruoxue knew how to refine pills, Ning Hai was overjoyed and quickly asked, Yes, I know a little. However, I have to see Huiao's condition first before I can decide if there's a way to save him. Lung Ruoxue said with a faint smile. In fact, the reason why she let Huiao eat the food that Philip served was because she was confident that she could save Huiao. However, in front of Ning Hai, she would not be too confident. Ruoxue, regardless of whether you can save Huiao or not, I'll thank you first. After hearing what Lung Ruoxue had to say, Ning Hai quickly said, Big Brother Ning, don't worry. I'll do my best. Lung Ruoxue promised. Then, Lung Ruoxue and the other two followed Ning Hai out of the tent to check on Huiao. Just as he walked to Huiao's side, Philip shouted at the top of his voice, They're the ones who harmed the captain's beastie. They're such ungrateful guys. The captain was so good to them, and Huiao often drove them, but they actually dared to do it. This is really too despicable. Captain, don't let them off. If they can harm Huiao today, they might be able to harm us tomorrow. We can't have such a dangerous person in our team, don't you think? Philip tried to stir up the crowd's emotions, but she realized that the crowd was rather cold to her words, which made her a little puzzled. What was going on with these people? How could he be so indifferent to this matter? Were they not afraid? What if they were the ones who were poisoned next time? Philip, shut your mouth. Don't talk nonsense before the matter is cleared up. Ning Hai heard Philip's words and warned him unhappily. He was getting more and more dissatisfied with Philip. Captain, the one who was poisoned was your beastie. How can you be so cold? Philip's face was filled with disbelief. Do you want everyone to accuse others without any evidence or truth? Just like you? What I want is evidence. If you can produce evidence to prove that Huiao was poisoned after eating the food brought by Ruoxue and the others, I will believe your words. Ning Hai said coldly. His words were not only for Philip, but also for everyone present. Captain, I believe that Miss Lung and the others would not poison Huiao. They don't have any conflicts with Huiao. Moreover, we often eat the food they prepare. How come nothing happened to us? A young man who had a good relationship with Lung Ruoxue and the rest spoke. Captain, I also believe in Miss Lung and the others. They have no reason to harm Huiao. If we have to talk about the person who has a grudge with Huiao, it's actually Philip. Someone echoed, Yueshi, what do you mean by that? Hearing this, Philip immediately exploded. I'm telling the truth. We all know that among all the people here, only you have a grudge against Huiao. The first thing you wanted to do when you came back was to beat it up. The man called you, she said with a faint smile. Yueshi, don't spout nonsense. Why would I do that? It's obvious that you've taken a fancy to this vixen and wanted to please her, so you're deliberately framing me. Philip's face turned red as he roared. Philip, do you think that everyone is as ignorant as you? Yushi laughed sarcastically. He did not deny that he had a good impression of Lung Ruoxue, but that was only limited to his appreciation of beautiful things. He knew very well that a woman like Lung Ruoxue was not someone an ordinary man like him could have. So, naturally, he would not have any improper thoughts about Lung Ruoxue. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.